Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Down Unders, like we do every week with my man Brody. Brother, how are you feeling this week? Getting excited for Vegas coming up, right?
Excited as, brother. Already booked out Sunday to sit on the lounge and do not a lot.
Oh, bro, I'm booked in for a live stream. I think me and Levon are doing a watch along on Wise Up TV, guys. So if you guys are keen, jump in over to do that. Watch that. I'm really excited to see the Warriors go up against the Raiders. Is there any games you're really watching out for? Obviously, the Penrith Panthers versus the Sharkies is a great game there.
Yeah, that'll be a great one. Honestly, gone back to Hines on Supercoach, so Cleary versus Hines is going to be a great battle straight up. But yeah, look, excited as it is, just for the phenomenon that it is already. Loving all the content of the boys over there already, training in the UFC PIs. Yeah, just keen as, brother, that footy's back.
Oh, 100%, bro, 100%. And while talking about Supercoach as well, guys, make sure you tune in tomorrow night. Me and Brody will be back on tomorrow night talking about Supercoach, probably giving you our full team reveals just before, obviously, round 0. There's still a little bit of tinkering, obviously, between round 0 and round 1. We are still able to trade players out that haven't been playing in the Vegas game and stuff like that. So there still probably will be chopping and changing, as we both have done quite a bit, my brother, eh?
Just a constant merry-go-round. Feel like the Knights coach.
Oh, bro, we're Adam O'Brien. I was going to say Adam Elliott, bro. He's probably not even going to get a position for the Knights this year, right?
you wish, hey, Missy Elliott. Not Missy Elliott, fuck. What's her name?
Missy Elliott? The singer?
What's his missus' name? No. Fuck.
Oh, Millie Elliott.
Yeah,
Shout out, Millie. Shout out, Millie.
Missy.
Hey, bro, it always comes full back circle as well, because she's playing in Vegas this week. Also, the Gillaroos going up against the English squad. That's going to be a really, really interesting game. I'm really excited to see that, because our Aussie, Gillaroos squad is absolutely fire.
Stacked.
Yeah, they're stacked. Do you reckon the English girls? I've seen good things from the English girls and that. Do you reckon they can hold a candle to our Gillaroos over there in Vegas?
No, I think they're just going for the free trip.
And talk about Englishmen, bro. Let's talk about the news before we jump into, guys. Obviously, today's show we're going to be doing our team predictions, like our not team predictions, sorry, our ladder predictions, our daily end position team of the year, guys. I am muddled right now. It's continuing on. Had such a big day. Brody knows about that. Moving over also to our most improved players, rookie of the year, captain of the year, coach of the year, all the good stuff. But while talking about Englishmen, the scrap going on in the elevator over in Vegas, bro. The Englishman,
Yeah.
Morgan Smithies, and the other Englishman, that is not an Englishman, Hudson Young. What is the go there? What do you reckon, bro? What's happening there?
I think Ricky told them that they're going to the UFC PI the next day, and they thought, they were trying out for Dana White Contender Series or something. But I think Morgan Smitty's definitely lost that one, because he had a nice little shiner.
For some reason, that man's always carrying a shiner on his eye too, right? Like Morgan, he must get into it all the time, right?
Yeah, he must be hitting up Hudson on a daily basis to sleep in his bed.
Such a crazy news story, bro. It's classic rugby league. It's classic NRL. You get all the boys over in Vegas. Obviously, we don't want to see that happening. There's a lot of money going into Vegas and all that, but jeez, bro, like the boys, come on, boys, and the weapons too, the inflatables. What's going on there?
Yeah, look, the media was definitely fishing for a story, and they got one. But I don't know, man. Just do better. That you're going to be on a platform for this Vegas weekend. You're there to represent not only the game, not only your club, but the country, Australia's country, to promote the game, and you do some stupid shit like that. I know it might look, little and non-sufficient, but at the end of the day, you're making a bad name in the media regardless for this week.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And I saw a lot of Warriors fans in the comment section of those shows be like, hey, guys, just suspend them both. It's all right. Just suspend them.
Well, I'm surprised the NRL didn't. I thought they would have came down hard on them, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if Ricky had something to do with that, but out of all the coaches in rugby league to deal with that problem, I said it on Wise Up TV that we spoke about it the day before. Out of all the coaches in the NRL to deal with that issue, you have Ricky Stewart, the man that is highly emotional, he says it, tells it as he feels it. To have that coach to deal with that problem, I think he's going to be blowing his top off.
I think he might have nearly had a heart attack, to be honest.
Bro, he'd be going fucking mental, wouldn't he?
Couldn't blame him.
No. So yeah, that's pretty much really the news going around the rugby league at the moment. Other than Morgan Harper officially signed to the New Zealand Warriors for a 1-year deal. Guys, you probably already know my feeling over that. I discussed it on Wise Up TV last night. Honestly, it's just a depth signing for us. I don't really see him probably getting around our first grade squad unless there is a little bit more injuries behind it. But he's got a bit of NRL experience. If Webby can get him to a decent level, which at the moment I think he's dealing with a lot of loss of confidence in Sifa Talakai, just absolutely dominating him, which everyone always brings up. But I've seen Webby turn around players before, so I'm not really too hard on it, but it's not an exciting signing for me at all. I think it's just really a depth signing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's definitely just depth. You still got to take care of New South Wales Cup, especially because, your young center's getting a crack this year in NRL.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of plug his spot, that New South Wales Cup. And, short of any injuries, Rocco's already out. So Dallin's out as well. Yep. So, you got a couple guys out already.
Exactly.
It's making it a little bit harder. Just why not have the extra depth there? He might play 2-3 games in NRL for the year. So be it. He might have killer training sessions with you guys and then even crack that spot, get his confidence back. He has shown talent before. I thought he was really one to watch through the Doggies New South Wales Cup. And then, he kind of went to the wayside a little bit. But, yeah, just depth. Just why not, You wouldn't be paying him too much either. So it's not taking up a chunk of your salary cap.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. Shout out to everyone in the chat as well, too, guys. I see you guys all jumping in. Jazz, good to see you there. Tans, what's going on? Lockie, let's trot. Lockie is in the chat already. Oh, guys, also when we're doing our predictions, Lockie has put in his ladder predictions and all that. So Lockie is a close friend of ours. So he wanted to jump on the show tonight, but unfortunately with the kiddies and all that, he was unable to do so tonight. So he messaged me all these predictions and stuff, so I will be reading them out on the show. Obviously, we'll go through them. Shout out Jose. What's up, Ash and Brody? What's going on? The toilet inspector. What a comment he has here. Obviously, on the Hudson Young and Morgan Smitty's one. He goes, I reckon one of them did a ratchet fart in the lifts. I dropped one once at a video game shop called Central Park, and they got me banned for a week when I was in high school. So
the more you know.
Very cool. The more you know. But shout out Tahi, as always, a big supporter of the channel as well. All right, guys, moving on over. Is there any other news stories that you really want to touch on, bro? It's been a fairly quiet one coming into Vegas. Obviously, Vegas is the biggest news story out, but yeah, I think the Hudson Young, Morgan Smitty's is kind of taken over anything at the moment, right?
Yeah, other than injuries, like Brian Sotto ruled out, but, we'll touch more into that on our Super Coach show tomorrow night and the deals we're dealing with on really trying to cement guys in and the injuries and everything else that's going into making that very hard to do at the moment.
I know it's crazy time. The amount of injuries around rugby league at the moment. Obviously, the Rabbitohs dealing with a lot. Obviously, we touched on it last week with Cam Murray and Latrell Mitchell. They're still waiting on Campbell Graham, Cody Walker. It's ratchet through the rugby league right now. Brian Toto dealing with injuries and stuff. So it's going to be a really interesting team list coming up in the week's future. Lastly, before we jump over to the ladder predictions as well, what were your thoughts overall on the trials over the weekend, bro? We may as well touch on that because obviously, it happened over the weekend. The Doggies unfortunately going down with the Broncos, but still I felt like there's a lot of good signs there as well. One thing with the Dogs though, and I think that's not getting noted as much. Obviously the Broncos blew it out, 30-14 and stuff like that. But that first little part and a half, I know the Broncos scored a couple of tries, one of them off a kick. The other one was a nice set play, really Reece Walsh just really creating something on the outside. But other than that, the Doggies really wrestled with them and they still had that tenacity that the Dogs were like last year. So there's still a lot of good signs there with the Dogs. I wouldn't have been taking this result too much to heart, and I know you haven't at all. But after watching that game, is there anything you really want to point out in that game overall, or you just taking that as it is, like a trial and moving into the season?
Yeah, pretty much, bro. You hit the nail on the head there. It's more so just a trial. The Bronx went out there with clear intentions and their coach was pretty happy with what he's seen in the first 30 to go and take his boys off. And it showed that Seraldo wasn't too happy with just the effort areas from our boys. And that's why they got stuck out there for about 60 minutes, if not longer, most of the star boys. So, just blowing the cobwebs out. I'm not too worried. It was a lot of first games for a lot of our guys back. And it just took us a while to find gear. Whereas, when you got Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds steering you around, they're both late 30s or mid 30s, you're going to find your rhythm pretty quickly as a team, you would imagine, or you'd want to hope so. So the Broncos did that, and they looked good. Like you touched on, they scored a couple of tries off kicks from Connor Tracy errors, and then a nice set piece from Walshy. But yeah, like you said, not too much to worry about. I'm not too worried at all at this point. And hopefully the boys can bounce back.
Yeah, 100%. There was obviously other positives in that game. Preston making a massive line break for his try, and that showed a bit of toe behind him. Hopefully in for a massive year for the Doggies. I'm really excited for him. I got high raps over him, and I know exactly you do as well. He's got high potential, so good to see those little areas there as well. I thought that he was pretty solid in this game.
Yeah, look, future Origin player for sure in Presto, and a couple other standout performances. But yeah, just bit effort was lacking. That's really all I could really kind of put that down to. I didn't like how Burton wasn't doing much of the kicking either. Dude, you got one of the biggest boots in the game. Like, I get Sexton's a bit more precise, but if Birdo's really want to take his game to the next level and have it be his team, he really needs to take that responsibility on.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Birdo's still wrestling with. He's been wrestling with it since he's gone to the Dogs, is trying to find that like role to step up into. He showed glimpses, he showed moments. Like last year, he had a lot of good moments where he stepped up. But, you know, I do feel like, you know, the next step for him is just like taking over and being like, this is my side. And not so much as like, you know, a halfback or anything like that. Just more of like, as you said, just the moments sort of thing. Like get yourself into the game early on. Because I do feel like, I think a lot of people are starting to point out now, he's a little bit of a slow starter. Like last year, he was a little bit of a slow starter. He really warmed into the season. I think it's probably going to be fairly similar this year. But you know, he's still a great player that you have around the traps there as well. But I do agree, like, you know, there's moments like that. Other games around the league, the Dragons are putting on a pretty solid performance against the Rabbitohs. I know talking about with you this morning, there was a couple of sides that had some really impressive performances. How much did, like, you know, the Dragons performance, the Knights performance, the Titans performance over the weekend, how much did that like kind of change your predicted ladder coming to this year? Or did it kind of also like reinforce certain things in your head as well to why you place those sides in those positions?
No, not really. It kind of threw a spanner in the works, as you really touched on. You know, we did our ladder prediction somewhat in the team reviews leading into the season before any trials even really started. But yeah, like you touched on, Titans had a pretty solid performance. Dragons, all teams that we've kind of put down lower have had solid performances in the trials. You know, and that's not a bad thing, I guess. It's good. It's going to mean the competition is going to be healthy. But trials, I guess, don't mean a lot at the end of the day. I mean, if you're going off it, back Manly for the wooden spoon already, because Penrith's third grade side put a bit of a touch up on them. So, you know, you can't read too much into it. But yeah, it is good to see, you know, the Dragons click, the Storm go down to the Cowboys. You know, the Cowboys clicked. But, you know, come crunch time, when everything really matters, we'll see the boys from the men.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're going to discuss it a little bit more when we move over to our ladder as well. Any other big key performances you saw over the trials over the weekend that got you very excited for the season? Any players that are stepping out for you at the moment that you saw and you were like, I can't wait to see that a little bit more out of them?
Not really off the top of my head, but I'll put together some notes on some performances for our super coach tomorrow on guys that made me want to look at them. We'll dive a bit more into player performances from the weekend's games for our trial, for our super coach show tomorrow.
Yeah, that sounds great to me, my brother. Anything more before we jump over to our ladder predictions, brother? Anything going on? Any news or anything you got thinking in your head? Or let's go straight into it.
I don't think there's anything else to touch on. It's been a pretty quiet one.
It really has.
Other than Toto, you know, big injury news there for the Panthers to not be ready for round one, but they reckon it's only going to be round one at least. So interesting one there. You know, like if you're certain that it's only going to be round one, it's weird that he's just not playing. But I guess it's just not worth the risk and give it a week's recovery.
Yeah, sometimes teams do hide a little bit of that, like like the feeling around it. But, you know, the Penrith Panthers, I'm sure they're doing all the best they can to get him back on the park. And even then, like, they still got coverage in those areas. Not as good as Toto, but definitely, you know, it's the Penrith Panthers. They've proven that they can fill those spots majority of the time. Toto's definitely going to be a little bit of different gravy there. But, yeah, I'm excited for the season. So let's get straight into it. So, guys, with our ladder prediction, kind of like I did last year, I did it by myself on a live stream and that, but now we got Brody, so it's great. We can bounce off each other and all that. We're just going to go through our ladder prediction. So I'll probably go Brody's ladder prediction first, then we'll go myself. Actually, did you want to go Lockie's first, and then we'll touch on that, our thoughts, and then yours, and then mine maybe? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we go with that, brother.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. So Lockie's ladder prediction for 2025. Guys, if you want to see Lockie 24/7, that is in the chat. Lockie, if you're here right now, make sure you continue to chat along to all the boys, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Warriors fans going crazy to you in the chat. You know, you haven't got us too low, but yeah, it's going to be real fun to see. He is a Titans fan too, guys, so obviously he's got... yeah, just understand what he's got. He's got weapons in a duffel bag for us Warriors fans as well, as in the 66-6 scoreline. So starting off with the wooden spoon team for Lockie Holloway, he has chosen the Canberra Raiders. So the reason why Lockie has chosen the Canberra Raiders, he reckons, is lost two leaders in Elliott and Rapana. No signings really to fill in those spots that really fancy him. They have a young gun in KO Weeks. Only player that can turn this around is Joseph Tarpanay. And that's kind of what he's got thinking in his head. I think we're fairly similar. We'll obviously touch on that a little bit more when we move on. But, you know, at the moment, no real qualms there. The Raiders being low on the ladder there, I feel like it's sort of looking that way at the moment for the Raiders.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's just more cases for other teams to not get the wooden spoon than the Raiders, more so than it is, you know, other teams to get the wooden spoon. You know, other teams have a bit more going for them to avoid the wooden spoon is what I'm basically trying to say. Whereas you look at the Raiders and you go, oh, kind of have to stick you guys there because everyone else has more upside. But yeah, I completely agree. You know, I didn't even look at it as a losing Rapana and Whitehead sort of way. I looked at it a different approach, and I'll touch base on that with my ladder prediction. But yeah, that's true points there as well.
100%, brother, 100%. All right, moving over to his 16th position. He has got, and this is an interesting one. There's going to be a lot of talking point around this. The South Sydney Rabbitohs. So he's chosen the South Sydney Rabbitohs for the 16th position. Cam Murray going down with injury, a major injury this year. Latrell Mitchell already injured. No signings that will fix those sort of areas. They will get wrecked in the middle of the field, is the way Lockie explained that pick there. I was high on the Rabbits, obviously, coming to the season. I'll obviously keep my cards close to my chest to my ladder before a little bit later on. But the Cam Murray news did definitely change my thoughts around the Rabbitohs. I still got him in a decent position, in my opinion. Do you see the reason why Lockie kind of went this way?
100%. I actually did. That's probably one of the other changes I've made in the last 2 weeks to my ladder prediction. If you go back to our live stream, I've kind of already said where I thought everybody would finish. Due to the injuries already, yeah, that I've changed my mind a little bit on just 4 teams pretty much swapping around. So, yeah, I can see where it's coming from for sure.
Moving over to the 15th position, we have got the West Tigers. He's got the West Tigers in 15th position there. His reasoning for it, anything better than last year is a successful season. Yeah, signings, but not known for their defense, which killed him the last 3 years. I got very similar thoughts for the Tigers this year. You know, I don't think they will probably get past that bottom 4 position. I know a lot of people are very high on it, but what do you reckon?
Things take time at the end of the day. You know, Coruscant starting the season out. And yeah, it's still unknown, you know. Terrell May still unknown how he's going to go for a full season of starting. You know, Royce Hunt's still trying to even just get to his Sharks form off the bench from what we've seen in the trials. You got the drama around David Clemmer, and he's bang on right. Like, they're the worst defensive team in the comp. We've seen that defense wins, you know, games more likely than not these days. So it's going to be a lot to change that. And in the trials, it still did lack a little bit. So yeah, they got a lot to turn around, and I do hope they can prove everybody wrong. But yeah, I don't think it'll be this year that we see a massive jump from the Tigers at all.
Yeah, very much agreed. Krishan, I see you in the chat. Ash, I've got something to say. Chuck it in the chat, Krishan. I'll definitely read it out when I do see it. Moving over to his 14th position, he has got the Newcastle Knights. So Lockie has said he had no big signings, some big players leaving or left. Still confused on who's playing the halves pairing. Give my man KP some help, he reckons. I've got the Knights around a similar sort of position. I was very, very low on the Knights to start with my predictions. I've seen the trials. I can kind of see it working, but I still look at their coach, Adam O'Brien. I'm still not very confident either that I could be right wherever you place the Knights. So you obviously probably agree with that as well?
Yeah, look, pretty spot on. I guess we're all kind of down the same channel of thoughts, to be honest, on our predictions here. Where'd you say the Knights were? 13th or 14th?
14th.
You might want to chuck them over, bro.
What's that? Oh, we're going to move on to the 13th position and we'll move it over.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. So we'll go like that. Moving over to the Parramatta Eels. He's got the Parramatta Eels in 13th position.
Trying to cover that one up. Yeah. Moving over to the Parramatta Eels. Oh, yep.
Don't you love that? So Lockie's excuse for this, his reasoning for this is yeah, this team could be anywhere or do anything. They could turn up against big sides, but fall off against the worst sides. And it's really up to Moses staying healthy if they could jump anywhere. So I can agree with majority of those points. 13th, is that a bit low for you? Obviously, we'll touch on your ladder, but what are you thinking there?
Yeah, I can't remember. Let me just check mine. Yeah, look, roundabouts there. As we've kind of touched on in previous shows, we know who our top four is going to be. How they exactly finish up in that is one thing, and then how our 5th to 8th is, we kind of think that's kind of settled. Yeah, like guys can move up probably 2 or 3 from where I reckon we are placing them, depending on injuries as well as big thing. But yeah, we know that there's going to be a bottom 8 and a top 8. Oh, fuck, it sounds like fucking Block of Roach here. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
it's been a big week.
The top 8's like pretty set on, and that we only see like potential of 4 teams jumping in over those couple of teams, whereas like you don't see, the Raiders, Tigers, making that 8 regardless. They might finish a little bit higher than 17th, but that they're not going to climb too far is what I'm basically saying. So yeah, around that mark is where I've got the Eels. Long story short.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. What you're kind of saying is like we spoke about this last week. You've got like teams in blocks, so you've got like your bottom 4 sort of side that you don't think can hurt too much of that. It could play good footy in periods, but you think they're probably at that potential. Then you got your mid pack sides that all have the potential to strike and really move around. But then on their day, they can lose to those bottom 4 sides and really fall around. And then you got your top 4 sides, obviously, at the top of the competition that are going to be very hard to beat for a lot of sides, especially, other teams like the Melbourne Storm and all that, which we'll touch on more a little bit later.
That's bang on, brother.
That's pretty much where you're at, yeah. Moving over to his 12th position, we got the New Zealand Warriors. He's winning for that. Without SJ, they're nothing. He's a big SJ fan, guys. Also, by the way, shout out to Lockie. Adam Fanor-Blake, big loss with what he brings. Fish is good, but not like AFB. Rogers should be fullback is Lockie's thoughts overall there. So for me, I don't agree with, obviously, Rogers should be fullback and all that. And obviously, I think that Fish is going to be a lot better, but I'm a Warriors fan. As I said to you at work, I can kind of understand a lot of people to putting the Warriors in these sort of positions this year. Because, like, coming to this year, if I was an opposition fan, I'll be looking at us like, are our halves set? We've got a number 6, like in Luke Metcalf, that hasn't really run a team around the park. He's got to step up in those that jersey and all that. There is a lot of questions. We lost a lot of good experience there as well. So I understand those sort of points. Obviously, just as a Warriors fan, I see a lot of the positives, and I see the stats from last year. I think we got a lot better. We can be a ton of a lot better. We got so much more potential than what I think a lot of people either give credit for. But that's a Warriors fan, right? So for you, 12th position, is that too harsh for the Warriors? Is this where you kind of sit us from 12th to 8th is probably where I think that you thought about us as well?
Yeah, look, I'm going to be the first one to say as well, other than obviously Lockie beat me to it, is I don't think the Wars will crack the 8. I just think there's a couple other teams. Like, they have the potential, don't get me wrong, but they have to have a lot go right for them. They're going to have to win some of those games against those top 4 teams, and I just don't see them being able to do that on any given day basis. The chances are pretty slim, like a 70-30, more it is than a 50-50 game. So, yeah, look, AFB leaving for me is not a bad thing. In James Fisher-Harris coming, I think he's the more complete player and he'll complement your side a lot more and make your whole team chemistry and how your team plays together a lot better.
Agreed.
Especially, pairing him up front with Barney. I feel like a long way straight away that those guys go. It really is just your halves pairing. I don't agree with the RTS to fullback. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a gun fullback, but Chance does just as much, if not the same, as Rog, in my opinion. And Rog has made it pretty clear that he doesn't really want to take that fullback spot. So why would you make two guys unhappy in the process? But yeah, I think if Metcalf hits the ground running, for sure that you guys could be a threat to steal that 8 spot. But at this stage, yeah, I do agree that they'll be around that 12th to 9th range.
100%, brother, 100%. Moving over, he has got the St. George Illawarra Dragons in the 11th position. So Lockie's reasonings to this was lost 2 big players, but brought in leaders and think they can make a top 12 be a successful year for them. So obviously, being 12, he said top 12 is successful mark for the Dragons this year. Your thoughts on this one? Obviously, Shane Flanagan coaching aside will always be a tough beat on their day. But yeah, where have you got, what do you reckon around that positioning there for the Dragons?
I agree with the experience is great, is a great signing, signing all those players. But you got to remember the Dolphins signed mostly on experience, not in their first year in the competition, and that didn't do too well for them. Like they started off all right, but then, the bodies got tired, they got a bit lazier, and slides kind of exposed them, with the Bromwiches and stuff like that going to the Dolphins when they first started. And, they were just a bit aged, and we might see that same thing with the Dragons. Players get better and better the more we see them come through. I still think, the Eels, for me, would probably finish higher than the Dragons, but I can see where he's coming from 100%. But again, they need a lot to go right. Flanagan is a great coach. I do agree that they'll be in that top 12 range. No, I don't actually. I don't.
We'll come to yours a little bit later. Moving over to his 10th position, he has got the Gold Coast Titans. So with the Gold Coast Titans, he's had messy half situation and fullback situation. I think that they just need to pick and stick and give them 6 months. Don't care where we are. Happy with our middle and edge area. So obviously, very high. He's a Gold Coast Titans fan, so I definitely understand the positivity. He's not really looking over crazy into like pushing the Titans into the top 4 rounds or anything like that. He's pretty realistic. Your thoughts around the Gold Coast Titans around this position here?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the forward pack. It's a pretty good one in my opinion. 3 Origin rep players in Tino Fafita and Mo Fodawaker. Bo Fillmore's also around that camp, I do believe. So yeah, look, pretty solid forward pack. No real excuses there. It's just, again, the halves got points in them, but I feel like they get exposed in defense. And, their back line is mediocre. They could be great guns one week and next week not so good. So yeah, very hit and miss.
100%, bro. 100%. We'll definitely touch on them a little bit more. Moving on with the Roosters. So he's got the Roosters in 9th position. Lost too many good players in important spots. If they can play as a team and grind through games till Walker Smith return, they might slip into the 8s if they return, obviously, end of the season. So I think a lot of people have very similar thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Totally agree. The Cowboys he has got in the 8th position this year. So the Cowboys, now we're moving into top 8 ranges right now. I think they can defend. If they can defend, they will make the 8. They can attack from anywhere, but defense is their issue. And totally agree. And that's pretty much where their inconsistencies do come from. But they've got the ability to be a top 8 side if they can defend a little bit better than what they could before. I feel like they've got a solid head coach. They've got a lot of great players there. Just need to buy into a good defensive system.
And Origin period will hurt them a little bit, as it always does.
Yes, 100%. Moving over to the 7th position, he has got the Dolphins, the Redcliffe Dolphins. His reasoning for it, if they stay healthy, they definitely can be a top 8, could even jump higher. So he's very high on the Dolphins this year.
Okay.
Hey, We're about to see yours moving on, eh? Moving on, we got the Manly Seagulls in the 6th position here. The reason for that, I think it will be DC's last year, so they will come out swinging, and if they stay healthy, as in Turbo, they will be great.
Yeah, couldn't agree more on that one.
Very much so. Very much so. Next up, we in 5th position. He has got your Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. So I think after last year, if they stick to their defense, they can win more games. Their attack has power. Probably agree with that sentiment as well.
Yeah, look, our attack is still a bit patchy. You know, we come out and blew the Broncos away that one game last year, and then we kind of go back into our shell. For me, it's Birdo's got to do more, but there is no reason we should go backwards if we're just backing off our defense mostly. But yeah, I'd like to see our attack not be as clunky. But yeah, that to me is on Birdo. So hopefully we can turn it around and keep going this year.
All right, so we're about to move over to our top 4 for Lockie Holloway's side. We've got 4 teams left here. We got the Broncos, the Penrith Panthers, the Sharkies, and the Melbourne Storm. So in 4th position, Lockie Holloway has picked the Brisbane Broncos. So his reasoning to this, the bounce back season to team we know they can be, help with the new coach, kick them off that rock star lifestyle. I think a lot of people, obviously, you know, I'm sort of buying into the Madge Maguire sort of system. I'll obviously tell you guys where I'm kind of sitting the Broncos this year. Is that enough for you to say they're going to be top 4 coming into this year?
Yeah, well, even without Madge, just if any new coach, even if it was like Jason Riles, for my opinion, just somebody different. I really feel like, Walters didn't have control of them. And, you know, it was more of a season from hell for them. You know, it was kind of their own doing that threw them away. But I really think Madge is the man for the job to drag back in their egos. And I feel like we'll see a really good year out of the Broncos, as much as I hate to admit.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Moving over to 3rd position. He's got the Premiers, the Penrith Panthers. So he's got the Penrith Panthers in 3rd position. I mean, it's the Panthers. They still have a solid squad and a great system coming through to fill spots. So, yeah, totally agree in that area. The Penrith Panthers are going to be a top 4 side again this year. So, do you think there's an opportunity for them to fall out of that top 4? Or are you like just Penrith Panthers lock and load?
Penrith Panthers top 4, no doubt still. Unless, you know, Cleary gets injured or Yo gets injured. Short of that, they can cover anybody else, in my opinion.
Agreed. Moving over to the 2nd place position, and he has got the Cronulla Sharks. So the Sharkies adding Fanua Blake will help their middle and take pressure off of Nico Hines. So that's the reason why he's got the Sharkies in 2nd position. Your thoughts overall on the Sharkies coming to the season? Obviously, I think a lot of people are very high on the Sharks.
Yeah, on paper, man, stacked top to bottom. Coach is going right now. They've had a couple of years with him now. So Hines has really just got to put the media aside and just prove that, you know, he is that Dayland player still, and take the Sharkies to a grand final. And I don't see why they can't.
100%, bro, 100%. And that would mean the Melbourne Storm will be the minor premiers in the 2025 season for Lockie Holloway. The reasoning for this, only gotten better with the signing of Stefano, will turn him into a top 3 front rower. Obviously, a big call there with Stefano being a top 3 front rower, but I probably agree. I think the Melbourne Storm is probably everyone's lock for a top 2 finish at least this year, right?
100%. Yeah, Melbourne won't go backwards from last year at all. They got too much good development system there, and Craig Bellamy just knows what to do with those players. It's pretty straightforward with Melbourne, to be honest.
Yeah. So reading into the ladder here, we got Lockie Holloway's predicted ladder, guys. Obviously, Lockie 24/7, that is in the chat currently right now. Give him your thoughts, obviously, overall. He has got the Melbourne Storm winning the competition, the Sharkies in 2nd, the Penrith Panthers 3rd, the Broncos 4th, the Doggies in 5th, the Manly Seagulls in 6th, the Dolphins in 7th, the Cowboys in 8th. So that will be your top 8 for Lockie Holloway in 2025. The bottom 8 will be the Roosters, the Titans, the Dragons, the Warriors, the Parramatta Eels, the Newcastle Knights, the West Tigers, getting a little bit better there, the Rabbitohs, and the Wooden Spooners for 2025 for Lockie will be the Canberra Raiders. Is there anything for you, brother? Obviously, we're going to jump over to your ladder prediction and that, but is there anything that you kind of see out of this ladder prediction that you're kind of like, oh, I don't see that?
I don't see the Dolphins making the 8. I really don't.
Yep.
And that's the only thing I'd probably highly disagree with there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the main one for me. Like, I can see where it's coming from with their back line, but for me, their forward pack still isn't there. I love Maxi Plath. I love that Gilbert's back, but outside of that, I still think that it's very, very fragile. And their halves are still they're in kind of the same position as the Knights, whether they're going to use O'Sullivan, Nikorima, Katoa. Yeah, it's still up in the air.
Yeah, I'm probably exactly with you. If I'm looking at the sides here, I would probably disagree with the Dolphins more so than anything. Yeah, for very similar thoughts with you. I also think just the Wayne Bennett effect in itself is he's gonna be a bigger deal than I've seen a lot of Dolphins fans obviously say. Obviously, Christian Wolf. I believe Christian Wolf's a good head coach, right? And this is not saying anything about Christian Wolf. It's more about what Wayne Bennett does for a club, and when he leaves, and people don't understand the hole that he leaves there. It's not so much just a coach, but we're talking about a father figure for a lot of these players here, and he's leaving a lot of young players that have grown up with him there. You know, Isaiah Katoa's had, a couple of years now under Wayne Bennett, and I'm sure that he's had him under his wing. He's given him a lot of tutelage. I think Christian Wolf would do good things with them. Not so much of great things to be a top 8 side this year. But yeah, very... obviously, Lockie's very, very high on the Dolphins, and yeah, and in the chat here, Katoa and Averillo halves pairing. He's obviously
there you go. You're adding Alvarado as well, so into that mix. Whereas like he was playing center last year, Nikorima played probably his best year of footy we've seen him playing NRL last year, and he's getting the snub there. Katoa started the season really well in the halfback role for the first, I think it was 7-8 games. And we're comparing him to, Jerome Hughes neck and neck for halfback of the year after 8 games. Now he's gone. So, like, already there's that question there of, like, who is exactly going to be their halves and why? And then, you're trying to potentially push the hammer out of fullback position. But, Trey Fuller's out now. So, obviously, he's got to go back to fullback. It's just a bit all over the place still. I don't think they're too set. Yeah, I think there's other teams with more potential to keep that 8 spot than the Dolphins to crack the 8.
All right, brother. Let's move over to your ladder prediction. We've cleared the slate here. Who's going to be your wooden spooner for 2025?
Yeah, look, what I was going to suggest is you just keep his on there and we make some moves. But yeah, for me, it's Canberra Raiders as well. As I touched on before, it's not so much that I think that they would get the wooden spoon. It's just more so the fact that, well, it is the fact that I think I'll get the wooden spoon, but it's more so the fact that I see other teams having more upside to avoid the wooden spoon than it is the Canberra just flat out shit. I just think, they don't have a lot going for them other than, Tarpany. I do like Fogarty and Strange, but for me, they're still not there. They're still not, like Ethan Strange is great young talent. But, outside of that, if Fogarty gets injured, he's going to have a new halves partner again that he's got to adapt to. And I just don't see them carrying them very far in the competition this year. I feel like other teams will make better adjustments.
Yeah. Obviously you'll see my ladder very shortly, but that wooden spoon position is so tough to put a team in, and it does feel like whatever team you could put in there, a fan base is going to be really angry because there is a lot of promise around the NRL right now with a lot of sides making some moves. Obviously, there's some development coming to the NRL. I think the game's in a really good position to where it is now, where the wooden spoon is such a tough thing to give its side. The West Tigers obviously went 3 years back in a row. Obviously some say going for 4 in a row, but they've improved. So it's really tough to go, all right, the West Tigers again when Jerome Luai and all that sort of stuff. But I was throwing up that sort of look as well. So I understand the Canberra Raiders, so I'll talk more when I obviously get it there, but I don't disagree with you at all there, brother. I'm seeing very similar things. Moving over to your 16th position, who have you got there?
Yeah, I've gone the Dragons. I feel like Ben Hunt had a hand in, 80% of their tries last year. I like Lockie Ilias. I think he's got a lot of potential, but I think that's going to take time. I'm still not sold on Kyle Flanagan. You know, he's solid enough, but I don't know how him and Flanagan are going to match up. Ilias and Flanagan are going to match up in the halves. I don't see one of them being a real running threat. So I kind of see them both as organisers. And then, yeah, Cookie, Little. I don't like that rotation. Both those guys can go 80 and play a good 80. So just that. Losing Lomax. Yeah, and Holmes is good, don't get me wrong, but he's coming to the back end of his career now, and he's making a few defensive reads as well that are wrong. And the Dragons will see that and find that out. Again, it's more so the fact that I see other sides having more upside than it is the Dragons' downside.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with you in those areas as well. Moving over to your 15th position, brother, who have you got there?
Yeah, I went with the Tigers. It's solely defense, really. We know that they're going to be able to attack. They got Coruscant, Lua, Galvin, and Buller, which is a great spine, in my opinion. And give them a couple of years, and they'll probably be, you know, one of the best spines in the game once we see a few guys retire. These guys get comfortable. But yeah, for now, their defense is too much to patch for me. I'm still not sold on Terrell May, Royce Hunt, those guys that they brung over. So a little bit of a change to where I did predict them to finish in our lineup, but I've seen what I like out of a few other teams and got to push the Tigers back down.
Yeah, definitely do see it. There's still going to be a side that, as I said before, I think that, you know, a good year still getting off the bottom of the ladder, right? And like even some ways, if they get Witherspoon this year, but they look so much more competitive, I still think that's a great year. I think Jerome Luai obviously won't take it that way. He's put a lot of like, you know, expectations on himself to get him off the bottom of the ladder and all that. But for me, I still can't look at him past that bottom four sort of side. And I know you're in a very similar, obviously putting him in the bottom three there.
100%. That's pretty bang on, brother.
All right, moving over to your 14th position.
I went with the Knights. Originally, I was picking them for my wooden spooners, but I just think on paper they got talent across the park. You know, they're 1 to 5 is pretty solid in my opinion. You know, and then they got Tyson Frizzell. I like Dylan Locus. I like Phoenix Crossland, what he's done in the trials at hooker. Fletcher Sharp is pretty good
looking sharp
at that. No pun intended. He's looking, you know, he adds a lot to attack, and I feel like if they can get him to play that 5'8" role and really mold a halfback into Will Price, or you know, go with Jackson Hastings and let him steer that side around with the flair that Fletcher Sharp and KP will bring. They could go a long way. But yeah, I just like what I see with their team on paper. It's just about them putting it together, you know, and they've found a way the last few years to sneak into the 8, so I don't see them dropping too far from that.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with any of that, and I'm probably going to echo a lot of your sentiments when I come over to my ladder prediction. Moving over to your 13th position.
I went with the Dolphins. Yeah, I love their back line. They've got a lot to offer. Bostock getting injured now, though. You know, they've got plenty of other guys that they did sign, like Max Fainga, or was it the other one?
Yeah,
one of the brothers. But
you got Junior Tupou as well. A lot of good players there.
Yeah, it's just the halves merry-go-round for me. Who they're going to go with, why they're going to go with them, hoping that, you know, Gilbert comes back fit, healthy, gets through a full season. You know, they're lining Maxi Plaff up on the back row at the moment. I don't like that. I like the lock forward role and maybe a bit of hooker. And then, yeah, I don't see much depth on their bench. You know, Marky Nichols does a job. They call him the GOAT, but, you know, when it comes down to it, he don't offer a lot for me, in my opinion, when you got sides like Cronulla that are stacked top to bottom and Melbourne and shit like that. So, yeah. I can't find the Dolphins finishing any higher.
Yeah, I'm very, very similar as well. The Plaff call is an interesting one, him being put on the edge. Obviously, they're trying to fit as much of the players as what they could. But sometimes when teams do this, they can hurt players more than what, like, you know, they're obviously trying to fit as many great players into a lineup, but it's all about having the great, like a team chemistry. You know, certain players only sit in certain positions. They play well in certain positions, and that's what makes a team click. So they've got to make a tough decision in those areas there. And whether it's that they push Tom Gilbert into a front row position, right? And then have Plath into a 13 jersey. For me, you have them more youth up in the front there, probably bodes them a little bit well. And they've obviously got Finnair Fuiaki over from the Cowboys. They could put it on an edge, and the opposite edge, you could have Felice Kafusi, or you could have Connolly Lemuelu, you know what I mean? But it feels like they're trying to fit all their eggs into the same basket there without taking a couple out and just saying, this is what looks a little bit better. It's just more chucking them in and sorting it out. And that's really, it's like the Titans have dealt with the last couple of years when they've had all their fullbacks. They've been trying to fit players around, and it doesn't really suit. They're trying to do that this year with the halves pairing. The Dolphins are doing a similar thing this year, I feel, but with forwards.
I agree. Yeah, you just got to sometimes just pick and stick with the best guy you've got for that position, not try and mold somebody from another position to play that position. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening.
Yeah, totally agree, bro. Totally agree. Your 12th position here.
I went with the Titans. I think on paper, they've got a pretty solid squad. I liked what I did see out of AJ and Campbell in the halves, but I really think it's mostly attack based. I feel like they've got a lot to work on defense wise. Phillips Army, Brian Kelly, those guys, they're guns. Don't get me wrong, but that's so inconsistent to call them that. They'll show up one week and blow a team away like, they did in that Warriors game. And then the following week, they'll probably choke and miss tackles, drop balls, all that sort of stuff. So I can't put them any higher than that, top 12 range, but maybe top 10 range, but that's if everything goes well. Tino is such a big influence on their team as well. But I don't see them cracking the 8 this year or any higher than that 10 spot.
I saw an interesting comment before, and it was if Tino wasn't in the side, he had someone had him in wooden spoon. I think it was Jose, someone in the chat. If Tino's in the side, that changes a lot of things. Are you very similar there? Obviously, the halves is a different story and all that, but Tino is obviously such a big impact to the side here.
Well, he's their captain. It's the same as Murray for me, to be honest, with the Rabbits, but I just feel like with Wayne Bennett, they'll be still all right. But for the Titans, 100%, Tino's a big influence for me to bump them up to where I have. If they get it right with Tino, Fafita, Mo Fodawaker, if these guys fire, they could be something to stop. But until they show it, I can't see it. But hopefully Tino does get through with a clean bill of health, and we do see the best out of Titans because they do have the team there and the talent there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone agrees at that point. They've got a team there. It's just got to make it happen. Moving into your 11th position.
I went with the Rabbits. So I did have them in my top 8, and I will stick to saying that they should be a top 8 side. But I feel like they fall too far behind the pack now in the early days until Latrell's back, until Cam Murray's back, until Campbell Graham's back, until AJ's back. Like, that's a big list of star caliber already, where I think they drop a few too many early games until we see those guys come back. And then you got, Latrell always up to his antics where he might get suspended, or him and Murray go to Origin for another 1 or 2 games. There's another couple of games they might drop. And I just feel like it might get away from them a little bit, as opposed to if they had all those guys fit, I would say top 6 straight away. But I just feel like they lose too many games now in that time while these guys are out.
Yeah, it's crazy. All through the offseason, I've seen these like predicted ladders from like Fox League, stuff like that. I think it was Fox League had the Rabbits in the bottom 2. And I was like, crazy. That was with Murray and all that healthy. And I was like, where did that come from? And now they look obviously like they've knew something from the get-go, but obviously injuries happen and the Rabbitohs are still struggling with that. So I agree with you. I think Wayne Bennett's a definite massive factor to get him off the bottom of that ladder. But with a healthy squad, I think it's good enough to get him into like a top 4 to top 8 range. Yeah. It's just unfortunately health is a big key to rugby league.
100%, yeah, and I just feel like they'll feel that hit too much. But yeah, Bennett will still work his magic, and it wouldn't surprise me if they sneak into the 8 still. But at this stage, that's where I've got to place them.
Yeah, definitely the best way to think of it. 10th position, Bella.
I've got your boys in 10th. So I've got the Wars in 10th. Again, I feel like they won't drop below 12th, but I feel like they could push into that 7th, 8th range. I don't see them climbing any higher. I don't see them having as good of a season as they did in 2023, but I don't see them having as bad of a season as last year. I see as I've touched on, I see the benefits of having James Fisher-Harris, Barnett's leadership as well to build on from that Australian stint, that New South Wales stint. I feel like we'll get the best out of him. But yeah, the halves are still unknown. I've got high raps on Luke Metcalf. I think he will be the man for you guys. But yeah, just consistency. The travel takes it out of you guys as well. If you drop too many close games, you just fall off the pack straight away. Whereas 2023, you're winning those close games. And I just don't think you'll have that big of a turnaround this year. If you can hold this squad that you got together this year and next year, I do see us climbing back into that 8.
Yeah, and like, you know, as I said, I'm a realist. I understand, like, you know, for me, I believe people should be looking at us as like a mid-pack side like this year. Like, you know, we have the potential to be a top 8 side, I believe, but I can understand us being in that washing machine of teams trying to get into the top 8. I don't agree with a lot of people that have said like we're bottom 2, all that sort of chat. Like I've seen that going around a lot at the moment. I still like think that there's a lot of positives with the Warriors, that a lot of people, I think, that just don't watch the Warriors or don't understand and never really look into things with the Warriors, right? Because we are kind of out of sight, out of mind a little bit. But I also understand that we got to be realists, right? Like for me, as I said before, we've got to understand that when we're looking at these ladder predictions, similar to the Titans, like you want to see it first before it happens. Like we lost Sean Johnson, we've lost Adam Fanor-Blake, we've lost players like that. I understand everyone's like, you know, these guys are massive key pieces to us in that 2023 season. They were big for us. And to get back there, we need a player that hasn't stood up like that to stand up like that. Like, you know, we need a Metcalf to stand up. We need a, you know, one of these players that before has been behind SJ, Tohu, stuff like that, to become like that, if that makes sense. So that's 100%. What the difference is, right? You know, you kind of agree with that in that sort of sense. So I honestly, I don't see that being a bad thing for the Warriors. I think that we are going to be in that washing machine, but hopefully for me, we'll kind of push into that 8. Moving over to that 9th role, bro. Who have you got in 9th?
I've gone with the Eels. You know, I feel like a couple of bad seasons, everyone's writing them off. You know, on paper, they've still got a very good squad. You know, adding Lomax now, I don't like him playing center, but adding Lomax, Addo-Carr's still got the speed on the edge. You know, he's a good finisher. You know, Mitch Moses, Dylan Brown healthy. They're a pretty good 1-2 punch. Let's be real. Everybody can't forget that they're still both very talented players if they stay fit. And then everyone's forgetting Hopgood at lock forward and what he did for the Eels in that, you know, 2023 season, and how good he was. I see the Eels winning a few games. You know, they're that team that, you know, rock up and beat Melbourne. You know, they rock up and crack with the Panthers, but they'll lose to like the Dolphins. They'll lose to, you know, the Dragons. You know, if they could find that consistency to beat those bottom teams, they could sneak into the 8. But yeah, I see them around 9th, 10th. Yeah,
definitely. I totally agree with you there. Moving over to your top 8, brother. We're starting your top 8. Who is in 8th position?
For me, it's the Roosters. I think they'll start a little bit slow due to their injuries and stuff. But if you look at their team on paper, they're still stacked. You know, they've got some center positions to fill, but, you know, they got Mark, old mate, last name. And if Billy Smith is fit, you know, Billy Smith is killer still. But he's just got injuries. If he was playing, you know, he's got really good ability there in the centers to plug that hole. Their wingers haven't changed. Still great try scorers, great finishers. Sam Walker absolutely brained it last year, and he'll continue to do so as soon as he's fit, I do believe. You got Brendan Smith coming back, and, you know, you still got a pretty stacked forward pack in Angus Crichton, Radley, and all those other guys. So I don't see them dropping too far off the pack, but I still see them being able to crack into that 8, even though they do give up a bit of a start with the injuries they've got.
Yeah, it's really tough to really place a side like the Roosters in, like, you know, these ladder predictions. Like, I have them probably a little bit lower, but it was really tough for me when you have a club that consistently, like, they've always had amazing players, and this year there's a little bit of difference there, but consistently they've always been a competitive side in competition. Like, you know, we'll talk obviously with the Melbourne Storm, the Penrith Panthers, you can't really push them out of that top 4 range because they've proven to be that consistently week in, week out. But you know, it's the year with the Roosters, it's really the unknown. Like, do they completely fall off the pace and become a side that, you know, finds around that bottom four, or do they, find a little bit of form coming into the rest of the end of the season, which I kind of see happening with Sam Walker, Brendan Smith, to really fight and try to push into the top 8, sort of what they did in the 2022 or the 2023 season where they had a lot of injuries. Remember, they were in bottom, they were 13th, and then they went on that massive run and they pinched an 8th spot. I think they actually got 7th on the last day when they beat the Rabbitohs from memory to get into the finals. So they have that ability. They really do.
Yeah, well, that's just it. They got plenty of points and they're blowing teams off the park by 50 last year. So that's not going to go away. It's just how they adapt to the losses that they've got. Once they get their injuries back, they'll be all sweet to still fire on and still make that 8, I do believe.
Yep. And just quickly here, Tim McKay, he has said Spencer Leniu has requested a release, apparently. I haven't seen that confirmed at all, but then Tim McKay obviously backs it up with, per reports by journalist Brent Reed, Spencer Leniu is seeking a release from the Roosters due to unhappiness within the club. Where will he look to go next? From the rumors, when I heard a lot of the rumors, I heard he wanted to go back to Penrith, but they don't have the money for him at the moment. But obviously, just talking about Spencer, if this does happen, is this does this change your thoughts with the Roosters this year? Obviously we'll stick them in the top 8 right now, but where do you sit there with that?
Well, that if Spencer leaves, that the Roosters will grab somebody else. It's pretty straightforward, they'll probably snag up Thomas Hazelton straight away or something that was also thrown around, or David Clemmer. Until, it comes out of Spencer's mouth, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, 100%. Patrick says he'll go to the Dogs. Would you take him at the Dogs?
I don't think we'll take him, to be honest. I think we're pretty set on our top 30 at this stage with Zion coming over now as well. I don't see the Dogs making a rash, quick decision like that. Potentially see him go to the Tigers with Luai and Coruscant and shit like that.
That would be interesting. That would be definitely interesting. Moving back to your ladder, bro, who's your 7th position?
For me, it's Manly. I reckon Manly, they've got the ability to win games, especially with Trbojevic fit and healthy. It's as simple as that. They're always hard to beat at Brookie. Backline's pretty solid. Forward pack's pretty solid these days as well. And their halves will just be better again for the season they had last year together.
Yeah, totally agree, bro. Totally agree. Moving over to your 6th position.
I've got the Cowboys in 6. Yeah, look, a bit of a change from when we did their predicted lineups. But, looking back at their team list, they got all the reasons to be in the top 6. It just comes down to their defense. It's as simple as that. Lockie touched on it. But yeah, I really do see them cracking that top 6 if they get through Origin and all that injury free. But they just need to fix their defense. They can go toe to toe with anybody scoring points. It's just the defensive side of things where they struggle.
Yeah, 100%, bro. I think they're definitely a side that has the ability to be in this range as well. And I think you probably could agree they have the ability to completely fall off the pace as well, which we saw in 2023. So I'm really excited to see the Cowboys because, the move of Jeremiah Nanai to the left edge, I think it ups his carries. I'm really, really curious to see how that turns out next to, obviously Tommy Dearden. And Scotty Drinkwater, just in the preseason trials, looks really sharp again. He could be pushing for, be up there for top 3 Dally M or whatever, which he has been for the last couple of years. He's been pushing in that realm. So, he's definitely got a lot of talent. So there's a lot of talent in the Cowboys to have the ability to be around this range. But yeah, it's just one of those sides that can be they're a swing side for me.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Moving over to your 5th position, brother.
I've got the Doggies in 5th. I don't see us cracking that top 4, but I don't see us dropping out of the 8. So I've gone 5th. I think we'll win a couple more of those close games that we lost last year, and stay that 5th, 6th position, and really seal it. And I feel like we'll go a little bit deeper into the finals, but still not make the finals. Defense reasons. We're all sweet in that aspect as long as we, maintain that standard we set last year, and then just adjust our attack a little bit, and we should be pretty rock solid there.
Yeah, I can't see any other reason for that. As I said in my thoughts, a couple of weeks ago when we were kind of talking around the sides is, the differences with the Warriors in 2024, when we came into that season, we had Adam Fanor-Blake wanted to leave. We had Josh Curran leave the club. We had a lot of people moving away from us. With the Doggies, there's not too much movement there. Josh Adokar is a mover, but he happened kind of mid-season due to obviously his suspension stuff and all that sort of thing. And I don't think that Like, I think he brought energy for a little period there, but I do also think that with his big contract and stuff like that, I thought it would be a little bit better to move him on and bring up one of your young guns. You got Montoya there now, but you got Blake Wilson as well. You got a lot of players that can steal that position in the future as well. So I don't see you being excited to move out of the 8 due to that reason. I don't think there's a lot of chopping and changing, a lot of movement in your club. There's not any distractions. So you should have the ability to stay in the 8, especially defensively. You are rock solid there, right?
100%. Spot on, brother.
Yeah, sweet, bro. Sweet. Moving over to your top 4, the big one, bro. Who is your number 4?
It's the Broncos for me. I think they've got the ability to finish, 3rd or 2nd, but I'm going to put them in at 4th. They're always hard to beat at Brisbane. Team on paper is stacked. Adding Madge, adding the experience of Ben Hunt to cover if Reynolds goes down. It's their competition. It's their top 4 to lose, in my opinion.
Agreed, bro. Agreed. I think everyone's very high on the Broncos coming to the season. We'll have to wait and see. Moving into 3rd position, who have you got there?
I've gone with the Panthers. I think they drop off the pace just a little bit, and this is obviously despite Cleary or Yo getting injured. If they get injured, I feel like the Panthers could potentially drop out of the 8, depending how serious injuries are there. But for me, they finish 3rd. I feel like that's pretty respectable. I feel like my top 2 are the heavy hitters this year, and we'll see the Panthers just drop that little bit, but obviously not disregarding the Broncos and the Panthers' chances to win the comp.
Yeah, 100%, bro. I totally agree. Your 2nd position?
I've gone with the Sharks.
Woo! Big boy.
So much the same, my top 5 as Lockies. It's same reasons as well. The Sharks add another firepower weapon without really losing anybody. And it's theirs to lose. It's really on the Sharks to own up to where they went wrong the last few seasons when everybody had high hopes for them and really adjust those things. Their chemistry looks good. All the boys are out in Vegas together. They're doing group things. The group activities look pretty spot on. They should be up there fighting it out for that trophy.
Yeah, 100%, bro, 100%. And that would mean the Melbourne Storm is your number 1 side of the competition this year, brother. Yeah,
depth, brother. They just got so much depth. Alec McDonald, Tui Kamikamifa, Josh King, Trent Liero, Stefano, Nelson, Lazarus, bro. Like those guys in their forward pack that chomp it to bits to not only want a starting position, just to get on the bench. Their rotation's a killer. Alec McDonald comes on, does a job. You got Harry Grant in the middle. Their halves are stacked. Pappenhausen. And then the back line, you could put anybody on that back line with that team and you'll be right. And they're still stacked. Warbrick, Coates, and then Meaney and Howarth, man. Like there's very little chips in their armor, if any. So it's their comp to lose this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Like the Melbourne Storm as a system, since they've been in the NRL, have been the benchmark, like for a lot of sides to what everyone wants to be. Obviously, the Penrith Panthers getting 4 in a row is a massive achievement, and obviously to a lot surpassing, as in like the achievements, right? But like the ability for the Melbourne Storm over such a long period of time to be a top 4 side consistently and always find a way to continue to turn up every year, be one of the best sides to beat. Like it's the craziest thing, and they just continue to be stronger and stronger. Like this year, I think they've got a great opportunity to win the whole competition. And as you say, they're first in your ladder at the moment. So, incredible year ahead for the Melbourne Storm.
100%, brother, 100%.
All right, bro. Well, as you said before, I might just do what you're kind of touching on. I'll keep all these guys up here and I'll kind of move around with mine. I think I kind of wish I did that a little bit more with Lockie's ladder and that, but I do see obviously the differences there. Obviously the Dolphins do fall out of where Lockie was saying in the top 8. Your top 4, top 5's pretty much very similar. The Cowboys, I feel like we're around about there as well. So he's very similar in a lot of sides there. Obviously, the Warriors are a little bit down. The Titans are there, but not too far different there. Your bottom sides were all very similar as well. Yeah,
I think the only difference in the 8th he had was the Dolphins for the Roosters, I dare say.
Yeah.
Other than that, the top 8 was the same.
Yep. Yeah, the Dolphins were 7th, Roosters were 9th, so round about there, yeah. So those are the 2 switches. Where did he have the Rabbits? The Rabbits were a bottom 2 side for him. So a little bit of differences there, but a lot of the very, very similar. I think a lot of people are thinking the very same way, I think, in the ladder as well.
And yeah, don't get me wrong, this is obviously not 100% going to happen. Injuries could still happen. You know, the Eels could get even more injuries, and I could see them being a bottom 2 side again. Yeah, injuries is everything, you know. It really is.
Yeah, and guys, also, we're going to be doing a mid-season sort of review. So we're going to review all our predictions, kind of not say fix them up, because we'll kind of keep these predictions, and then like we'll also give you a mid-season prediction on, you know, us seeing the sides and giving our thoughts on who's going to move in that. And then when we get to the end of the year, I think we'll review both our predictions and really where we sat with the season and how maybe reactive we could be as well, because I think that's an interesting thought. Is some teams go through mid-season slumps and then come home strong. You know, if we change those sides around a little bit, I think it's going to be interesting to see like where sides sort of sit during the year. You know, listening to a lot of, you know, content creators and that, I do believe that the NRL is very reactionary at times. You know, when sides go really well for a little period, everyone jumps on the bandwagon and then they fall off completely. It's just the way it goes in the NRL. So I'm very excited for that. So you're 100% right though, bro. Like anything can change in these ladders. That's what makes it so tough to do these. Like, you know, but it's also, you got to put your balls on the line, right, too, and also say, this is how I think.
Well, that's exactly right. And that's what I've already had to do by saying, look, I've looked at some of the trials, I've looked at some of the injuries since we did our team predictions, and I have made changes already. So, yeah, and that is probably very reactive of me, but you got to go off something, right? And seeing injuries like the Rabbits have had, for me, they can't be a top 8 side now. Just, I feel like they fall behind the pack too much. But that's a prime example of how quick things can change for a club.
100%, bro. 100%. All right. So the Brodies side to start this year, guys. Before I move on to my side, you got the Melbourne Storm, number 1. We got the Sharkies, the Penrith Panthers, the Brisbane Broncos in the top 4. Mid-pack, the top 8, sort of rounding out the top 8, we got the Dogs, we got the Cowboys, Manly Seagulls, and the Roosters. Mid-pack, we got Parramatta Eels, Warriors, Rabbitohs, and Titans. And to finish off the ladder here, the bottom 5 sides, you got the Dolphins, Knights, West Tigers, Dragons, and the Wooden Spoon side of the Canberra Raiders. All right, brother. Moving over to my ladder prediction for 2025. It's going to be interesting. I don't think there's going to be too many changes here at all. So my Wooden Spoon side for 2025 is the Canberra Raiders. So again, like I think it's very similar to your thoughts as well. I found it so tough to find a bottom side. I was running with the Newcastle Knights till I saw the trial, and I started to see things where I was like, if it works, I think it can work. Where I think the Raiders are a sort of a side that they're so consistent, they're so strong, but also they do look like they don't strike as hard as a lot of other sides that they can. So their form can be a little bit more dour, and maybe they could fall off the pace a little bit. You know, it all comes down to, you know, if Fogarty stays healthy, Ethan Strange, if he steps up in moments, you know, they've still got youth in their pack there of like, you know, in their fullback position, KO Weeks, still learning the fullback position, still got a lot of potential, but still learning. I still think that if they lose someone like a Joseph Tarpanay, they got players to fill in those roles, but they don't have anyone else that really stands out like that, unless Corey Horsburgh really takes the podium there in that front row position. So I can see this a Wooden Spoon, but as you probably touched on too, I see a lot of other teams that are in the fight for this Wooden Spoon role, and I wouldn't be surprised with these other sides if I'm, you know, thinking off the top of my head who could really fight for that role there.
You got to put someone there, brother. You got to put somebody there.
And that's the tough is, like, I feel sorry for all Raiders fans out there. I'm sure they're very high on their side coming into this year, thinking they're going to fight for the 8 and all that, and they might do, right? They'll prove me wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
We got to go off something, as you said before.
Exactly.
All right, moving over to my 16th position, and in this one, I've actually got the West Tigers. So I've got the West Tigers second last. I actually, for a little period there, had them last. I moved the Knights up, and I put them last, and I just kind of like, I just don't think Jerome Luai will allow that to happen. I still got my worries with the Tigers. We've seen them sign good players before. A lot of people will probably argue none to the ability of a Jerome Luai and that. But think of last year, they signed Isaiah Papali'i, John Bateman, that a lot of people were really high on, saying they were going to change the forward pack and everything was going to be okay. The defense is going to get sorted. It didn't happen. Benji as a head coach, as an attacking head coach, right? And we all agree he can show that areas. He's got players like now Lockie Galvin firing in attack. Defense, they're still the worst team, as you said, defensively in the competition last year. And does Benji look like the type of coach that's going to like really knuckle down defensively? It's still a wait and see, right? So
I think so too. Yeah, he's got a lot of fine tuning to do. He's got a lot of soul searching to do in his players, and I just don't know if he's got that in him in his young career of coaching. I don't think he's going to be the guy right now to turn around the Tigers without some serious help. I feel like they needed to maybe take more of a Dragons approach and sign experience. You can argue the point that they have in Luai and Taruva, who have both won 3 grand finals or 4 grand finals in a row. And that could be the tide that turns. But again, that's not defensive weapons that you're signing.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. And like, you know, I know a lot of people are high on Terrell May. For me, like attacking wise, he's an absolute freak of nature, more so in the fitness aspect of it. He'll go back-to-back runs. He looks great in that area. He's got a nice offload and stuff. I still think defensively, there's areas I watch him play, and I don't think he's lateral enough defensively to really lock in. I've seen moments where he can fall off tackles, and I don't think he's as alpha as like what probably a lot of people expected. I think that could be harsh to say, but that's just how I feel. And like, you know, as just touching on like just before, like, as you said, I don't see the fix to their defense just yet. I really don't. And defense gets you off the bottom of the ladder, I believe. Defense wins comps. That's the whole thing. And it's the most important part of rugby league for me at the moment. And yeah, that's really where I sit the West Tigers. Moving on in the 15th position. This is going to be a wild one, but I've got the Gold Coast Titans in 15th. And I'm so sorry, Lockie, if you're still in the chat, right? But my concerns is looked incredible in a trial. The halves pairing, like the spine in general, when you got Keanu Kinney at fullback, incredible. Your halves of Jaden Campbell and AJ Brimson in that game look sharp. They were playing like legit, like they were playing like the 3 fullbacks on the field, which exactly they were. There were 3 fullbacks on the field. Campbell's got the ability to have a good kicking game on him. He's very talented in that aspect. AJ Brimson plays off the cuff better than most players in the competition. The Dolphins really didn't help in the aspect of like, I don't think they really like, there was a lot of errors from their end in that game. It was a trial, right? In that area, the Titans look sharp. The youthfulness excites me for the start of the season. But when we get into the real like nitty gritty part of the season, I think that's where you have experience. You have players get you around the park. Kieran Foran not being there now. That's where I think the halves are going to get tested, and it's really up to Desi to stick with these guys and see if they can push it through. But that's where I'm worried. And the other area is there still were a bottom 5 defensive side last year as well. And that's always been the Titans' trouble. They've always been so good at attack. Like, obviously, they're leaning more into attack this year, but I think they've always lent into attack. Like, when do they start knuckling down defensively? And that's when they're going to really get swing in their results. So I just want to see it first before I can really make a judgment of pushing them further up the ladder.
I do think Tino adds to their defense a lot, and RCG. You know, I feel like they've got a lot to offer through the middle and defense. But you bang on right, brother. If they're solely going off momentum and attack to win them games, as soon as you get into an arm wrestle with, you know, your Melbourne Storms, your Bulldogs, even your Storm, guys that are really sound defensively, and you get frustrated because you just get turned away. I feel like the young halves and the young spine and the 3 fullbacks is just going to go out the window. You'll start seeing cutout balls, passes hit the ground. You just need somebody that can tick over a repeat set, and I just don't quite see that in the Titans. So I can't argue with you for having them in that position.
And just following the league statistically for multiple years now, like, you know, Tino, incredible. Like, I love Tino. I love Fafita, all that sort of stuff. We've been saying they've had such a good forward pack for so long now, but it still hasn't like changed into they're still not a good defensive side. 2023, Tino played a decent year. 2024, he was injured, right, for a majority of the season, but go back 2023, he was there for a majority part of the year. Fafita was there for a decent part of the year. That was one of Fafita's better seasons as well, especially. They were still a bottom 4 side, and they were still, I think they were actually one of the worst sides. I think they were second worst side defensively that year. And for a majority of that year, they were the worst defensive side for the year. That's the thing, is like they've had these guys in their lineup for a long period of time, and a lot of people always are so hyped because they're such good players as in individuals. And when they get the Origin, incredible. It's just the Titans as an organization at the moment, they just can't figure that out. You know?
I agree.
Yeah,
that's pretty bang on.
Anyway. Moving over to my 14th position, I have got, I'll move these guys up actually. I've got the Dolphins. So I'm sitting the Dolphins in 14th. That seems fairly low. And again, I'm a Queenslander, right? I'm a Queensland fan, and you'll probably see a little bit later on. I only have one Queensland side in my top 8 this year, which is a lot of Queenslanders probably looking at me going, "What the fuck, Ash?" But I'm not high on the Dolphins this year. I think that Wayne Bennett leaving is such a big factor. I still like I love Christian Wolf. I think he's a good coach, but I think it's going to take time before he can really take the over from that side from what Wayne Bennett has left. I think that he's got a young half then, Isaiah Katai, incredible potential, but it's going to take time, guys. I think that like a lot of people are rushing into like 1 year, Wayne moves on, they're just going to take another big step. But like, tell me another side when Wayne Bennett leaves has taken the big step as much, you know?
It's normally a backward step.
Exactly. Still a side that can have a lot of injuries to them as well. They've got aging bodies there, Felice Kafusi, Kenny Bromwich in those areas, and then their depth gets tested again. They're fixing that area, but it's still going to be a little bit of time. As I said, they are building. They're a building side still. It'll take a little bit before we see them back in the top 8 or around that top 8 round for me in the future.
I agree, brother. I agree.
Moving over to my 13th position, I've got the Newcastle Knights. I was willing to push them a little bit higher in the ladder. Again, like as I said before, I was very low on the Newcastle Knights to start the season. I think KP's incredible as a footballer. They've been consistently in the top 8 for the last couple of years. They've done amazing things with O'Brien and that. Still don't like O'Brien as a coach in a way. I don't like some of his selections, the way he chop and change his squad. When I heard that they're running into the season as a Tyson Gamble and Fletcher and Sharp combo, I just went, what is he doing? And I just went straight away bottom of the ladder. After seeing the trials, it pushed it up just a tad to me because I saw something there. But I still want to stick with the same thought I had in my head to start with. I don't want to get wooed with the trials that a lot of sides, you know, the Parramatta Eels they went up against, they didn't play Mitchell Moses and, you know, they played Dylan Brown in that trial. You know, the Newcastle Knights against the Roosters that look very flat. Yeah. I don't want to read into that too much. They look good. They look like they got a good attacking ability. Again, defensively is where they got to lock in as well. So does Fletcher Sharp lock in defensively in that 6 jersey, defending in the line consistently? He will become the spot in the side. That is really the big question with the Newcastle Knights for me this season.
You're pretty bang on, brother. They find a way, and they have found a way the last few years to make that 8. And if they can get that halves pairing firing, by all means, they can make that 8 again. But that's a big ask, especially to a bunch of sides that have made adjustments, whereas the Knights don't seem like they ever make adjustments. Yeah, exactly right, bro. And it's just, I don't know. They're such a frustrating team for me to watch consistently every year. They always find themselves getting into the top 8, and a lot of that comes down to they find their way into nitty-gritty wins and that, but I'm just waiting for that time for it to drop apart, for Adam O'Brien to really be seen as a coach that's really struggling at the moment, because I do see it. It's like, you know, even with the development players, they're shifting off a lot of development players from underneath. Leo Thompson's moving on. David Armstrong.
There's a lot going on there. Yeah, Armstrong moved on. Like, there's a lot going on there. So for me, that's where I sit them. In 12th position, I'm actually keeping that team right there. I've got the Dragons in 12th. You know, I think experience-wise, they'll go fairly solid. I think they'll be a side that will be tough to beat on their day, especially at Wynn Stadium, which they usually always are very tough to beat at Wynn. But I'd still think that, like, with an aging roster in a way, great experience, but if Gutho goes down with a knee injury, they're back to Sloan at fullback, and they can find inconsistencies in that area. If Cookie looks amazing right now, but if he goes down with an injury, that Little will take over that spot there too. But will there be a little bit more clunkiness there, not playing Little for decent minutes? As you said before, they're going to have to rotate those boys a little bit more. Valentine Holmes, it really depends on, does he go from the Cowboys that were a top 8 side down to the Dragons and his defense fix up? Like, you know, those areas. So I just want to see it first with the Dragons. I think they'll be tough to beat at times, but I'm not as high as others are to push them into a top 8.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, brother. I don't see them cracking that 8, even with the experience that they've signed. Have you seen those 3 signings alone, like, you know, 4 years ago? You'd be going, fuck, all right. But now it's like, yeah, okay, like, I get it. I get what they're trying to do. They might build a really good culture. It seems like they have, but I just still don't think it's enough to turn it around and place them higher than a couple other teams.
Yeah, and I'm still like curious on what's going on with the Francis Molo situation. What happened there? Did that cause any dysfunction around any group? Obviously, it didn't look like it in the trials, but
Nah.
little things like that, like, you know,
Mm.
they can come from Shane Flanagan. He is a coach that tells it as he sees it, that sort of stuff. I'm just curious to see how they go this season. So I'm sitting there waiting and watching. I hope they go well because I feel like Dragons fans, they've been in limbo for a long period of time now. And like, it'd be good to see him turn around. I think Flano's good enough to change him around. It's just, for me, I want to see it first.
100%.
My 11th position, I've actually got the Cowboys. My reasoning there, as I said before, I'm really high on the move of Jeremiah Nenai to the left edge. I'm excited to see how that all goes, you know, overall. But I think that when we're looking at other sides in the competition step up in a lot of areas, like, you know, the Parramatta Eels signing a defensive head coach, and they've got a lot of youthfulness in their side that's looking really strong, you know, good halves pairing. I look at a lot of other, like, you know, the Manly Seagulls we'll touch on very shortly. They have a real favorable draw. They've got a player like Tommy Trbojevic that carries them through. Tom Dearden looks incredible in the offseason and all that. I just think that at the moment there seems to be unsettlement with the Cowboys. They've had some big key injuries in the preseason there. They're putting a young halfback that I'm very high on, but I'm still waiting to see how that takes over. Clifford will probably come back from injury, and that will become a little bit of a merry-go-round for me. And Reece Robson moving on, I'm sure he's going to play great football in that. I just think that when things do get tough, some of those like things rear their head, like they did with the Warriors, like they've done with other sides. I can see them dropping to a 12th position, 11th position. But as I said with you, I can see them being a top 8 side as well. So it was a tough place side to place for me. I've got them at 11th within a side that's in the washing machine for the top 8. I really do.
Yeah, they're very hard to place. You're right. They could come out and finish 16th, or they could come out and finish 6th. They're probably one of the teams that you can really say that they could place literally anywhere on the ladder, because it really does depend how they show up. One week they'll blow a team away and score points and look insane, and then the following week they're just struggling to get points. Balls are hitting the ground, and teams are running tries through their defense. So, but on paper, man, when you got like Cotter, Cohen Hess, JT still, fucking Griffin Neem, like that forward pack, man, is solid. Nanai, they're just got to put it together. Yeah. They've got to put it together. And, you know, they're going to be lacking in their centers a little bit this year, in my opinion. But, you know, they've still got the ability of Drinkwater, Dearden, Tuolangi. That enough for me to still see them crack that top 6. But, again, it's up in the air for the Cowboys. It really is.
It really is, bro. And it does pain me to hold them in this position because I love the Cowboys as a club. Like, you know, again, like, you know, as a Queenslander, it sucks to have only one Queensland side in the top 8, but like, it's just a side that I can see swinging so many different ways. And I just want to see how they go first. Inconsistency always worries me. I'd like to see good consistency and upwards trajectory. You know, with moving on Valentine Holmes and stuff like that. Like, I just want to see how it plays out first. They look good in trials there. But yeah, for me, it's when the NRL season starts up and you get in that washing machine, when it gets hard, when the injuries come into your lineup, that's when you get tested depth-wise, and really, it's really up to those boys to step up. So I agree with you, though. There's incredible players there that can definitely change this whole thing around and go top 8.
100%.
Moving over to my 10th position. And in my 10th position right now, I have the Rabbitohs. So I'm going to move these guys up, actually. I have the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I don't have them in my 8 right now, and I probably do have them maybe a little bit higher than other sides. I could probably have the Cowboys over them, this and that. I've done a lot of ladder predictions. I'm more so banking on when Latrell comes back of injury, they'll fire. Wayne Bennett effect. I think they're a good enough side to really, you know, contend around those areas. I think Wayne Bennett will have them up around that 8 role. But with the injuries that they've been impacted with, I can't see them in my top 8 right now. So they really are in that sides at the moment that are in the washing machine, as I continue to say, that I find it so hard to place these sides because honestly, I could really interchange a lot of them and go, yeah, I agree. Like, I could have the Cowboys ahead of them. I could have the Dragons around about there, Parramatta, all that. We'll talk about those guys later. But, you know, these sides I could really interchange. I really see it this year.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm basically just banking on Wayne Bennett with that side, even with injuries. In my 9th position, I have the Parramatta Eels. And so I think Parramatta will go a lot better than what they did last year, obviously getting second last year. Actually, I think they got third last from memory. Maybe second last.
Yeah, they were bottom 3 last year.
Yeah. So I think that Parramatta, new head coach, all that, that is the reason why I don't have him in my 8 currently right now. Obviously, he's going to take time for his system to get in. We've seen coaches in their, like, have a boom year when their head coach first comes in, with like the Warriors did, right, and all that. But we also seen sides like, the Doggies took a little bit before they get into Serraldo's system and really understood that properly, and then they have their boom season. Right now, I think it's going to be a season for the Parramatta Eels to grow from that pack, and then they're going to build again. It does... I'm excited to see Lomax, to see what he can do in that center position this year. I think he's a better winger, but if he can prove himself and have the same energy to play in that center position, I think he could definitely help him in that area, especially on Mitchell Moses' side. But still, it's just a wait and see for me with the Parramatta Eels. A young fullback in a position there that's still got, he's got a long season ahead of him in a very vital role, I think, in the NRL this year with a fullback. And a number 9 position that I still don't think they're settled with who they're going to play in that number 9. That Riley Smith that's come up in the trials looked great. So he could put his hand up there. Brendan Hand's still there, Joey Lussick. So there's still questions there, but I like the pieces it's still got there.
Yeah, I think they turn it around for sure, as you've touched on. I had them in the exact same position, so I can't argue with that. Moses and Brown is lethal, but yeah, around that, it's about keeping guys fit, finding guys that fit the mold. They've still got a bit of a merry-go-round in their back row with Sean Lane, Madison, Cartwright, Tuolungi, and a couple other guys that actually showed out in the trials as well. So they're a little bit all over the place there in their forward pack. It's not too settled. So yeah, I could see where you're going with it.
Yeah. All right. Moving over to my 8th position, I've got my New Zealand Warriors. So with the Warriors this season, obviously I see Lockie in there in the chat. No way the Warriors will be this high. I really do believe that we can get into that 8th position. I think that will be one of those sides, as I touched on before. Like, I got probably pretty much 7th down as sides before the bottom 4, as sides that I could all see touching that top 8 position and stealing it, right? I think we are definitely one of those sides. And I'm going to definitely look at the more positive side of things. I think that last year we were the second worst team with injuries. Obviously, injuries shouldn't always be the excuse, but mid-game injuries absolutely killed us last year. We lost a lot of tight games. Other than the Titans game, we actually had an average loss ratio of only 2 points. We actually, with Tamani Martin in that 7 jersey, we were only losing on average of 2 points per game. We had that game against you guys at a core stadium where we lost our complete backline and we still were within grasping reach of beating you in that game. A great side that used a high in that period there. Statistically, we were the 2nd or 3rd best running meterage side in the competition. We can get into your opposition so easily. That came off our backline. Obviously, everyone would say Adam Fanua-Blake. Obviously, he's an incredible attacking prop forward. But people also got to remember our backline, Marcelo Montoya averaged 150 meters per game that season. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak averaged around that as well that season, 120 range. Our backline of Chance Nickel-Clockstag, when he was healthy in that lineup, averaged nearly 200 meters per game that season. He was the 3rd best running fullback in the competition in run meterage. The only areas we need to fix up on is scoring points. And I think with someone like Luke Metcalf and that, a bit of youthfulness in our halves, we got rejuvenation in how deep they get into the line, how their attacking shape really sets up. I was really excited with what we saw in the trials there too. I don't want to read into it too much, but I was very excited. And defensive hardness in our goal line. We brought Fisher Harris over. I did think we lacked in that area with Adam Fanua-Blake in the middle. I thought he was good enough there, but I think Fisher Harris steps up immediately there, right? Especially from the inside pressure. As a halfback, the worst thing to deal with as a halfback, you want time with the ball. And if that inside pressure comes really hard and heavy, what are you doing? You're releasing that ball as early as you can, or you're taking a whack. You got Fisher Harris that is known for that. He's built that into a system. I think that we're going to build ourselves in there. Him and Barnett. I'm excited for the season. I think we can be a top 8 side. I really do.
Yeah, I can 100% see your points, Bo. I really can. I could, like you touched on, I could see 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Those 6 teams really fighting for those spots there, that 7th and 8th spot. I really do. And statistic-wise, you guys could definitely be there. it's just hopefully you guys get a clean bill of health to not have that same issue that you had this year. You know, I don't know what you put that down to, whether it's harder around the training schedule of the Warriors because they have to travel every few weeks. That could have a factor in how you guys structure your recoveries, structure your trainings, having to come over and then train over here, as opposed to just getting to chill in sort of your one location until 2 days out from the game and then you just drive down the road like a lot of Sydney teams do. So you have that disadvantage as well. So you do need a lot of things to go your way, but I can see you guys finishing 7th and 8th. I wouldn't say any higher, but I wouldn't say any lower than 12th as I did put you guys in 10th. So yeah, I can 100% see it.
And Lockie, I'd love to see you in the chat. If the Warriors get 10th or higher, I'll get a Warriors tattoo.
Fucking hell. We're holding to that. He said 100%. It, yeah.
You said it, bro. We're holding you to that. All right, I'm really excited for the season. I cannot
What
wait.
Are you throwing out, though, Ash? What are you throwing out?
Oh, he threw it up there. I'm not throwing anything
out,
bro.
You got to throw something back. You got to throw something back.
Fuck, I'm not getting a Titans tattoo. Fuck that out, bro.
What about if you say if the Titans make the top 8?
If the Titans make the top 8, what does he want? What does he want? I'm not getting a tattoo, though. I'll get a Warriors tattoo, but I'm not getting a Titans tattoo.
You gotta, but all right, if you go to New Zealand game this year, right? If the Titans are higher than the Warriors at that point in time on the ladder, you got to wear a Titans jersey to the New Zealand Stadium.
Oh, I don't want to do that either. You know what? I'm going to bitch it. Fuck it. But I'm holding you to that, Lockie. I don't care. You don't have to get a tattoo, but I'm holding you to this like we do every year. If it's got to be money bet, I'll do it every day. I'll bet you 150 bucks, 100 bucks. I'll bet you anything. Really. Let's go. Screenshot. Jazzy's already got the screenshot.
That's gold.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Nah, good banter as always. Moving on, guys. Obviously, I've spent a lot of time there with the Warriors, as I usually do. I'm usually very passionate. In my 7th position, this is a side that I'm really not high on, but I just think that they probably going to have a little bit of a resurgence at the end of the year. I'm still waiting to see on the Joey Manu situation, whatever happens there. I'm going the Roosters in the 7th position. I could definitely push them down, push Parramatta up into this top 8. I'm looking at that. The Cowboys are around about there. I've got a little bit more trust than what a lot of other people do have with the Roosters. I do think they're going to have a somewhat poor start to the season, but I think when they get Brendan Smith and they get Sam Walker back, I think they're going to go on a little late run. As I said, they got all their buys pretty much compacted into the starting 16 rounds in the competition, and then they've got a really big run home, and that's when they have all their players back fresh of injury. I'm still worried though. This is one that I really do think I'm going to get wrong, and they could possibly sit in that 11th, 12th, 10th range for me, but I've got a 7th right now, more so on system, as in the Roosters. I think the Roosters just find a way usually to do this.
Yeah, I agree, brother.
Moving over to my 6th position, I've got the Bulldogs in 6th position. Again, a side that I don't think will fall out of the 8. I think they're going to really lock down a top 8 role. I could have them 5th or 6th, but I think coming to this year, you're going to be rock solid defensively and all that. The only thing is, obviously, if you want to contend with the top 4 sort of range, and obviously you didn't discuss that, all that sort of stuff, there is a couple of areas where, like, your halfback and that, you want Toby Sexton to probably have an upward trajectory this season in those areas. I still think that if you get, as with any side, you get any injury to Birdo, stuff like that, that's going to be something to cross when you cross it. But if you stay healthy, like you did last year, you defend hard like you did last year, I don't see you falling out of the 8. I think you're good enough to stay in the 8, and I think you can rock a lot of sides this year. So I'm pretty high on the Dogs. Yeah,
it's just kind of echoing everything we've touched on about the Doggies already. So don't need to dive too much more into them with that, because it's pretty straightforward. If you stick to that defensive patterns and don't have any key injuries and can tweak a few errors in attack, as we've said, you shouldn't fall off the pace of that 5th, 6th position.
Yeah, totally agree. Moving over to my 5th position on the ladder, I have the Brisbane Broncos. I think Suncorp's going to be a big deal with them. I think Madge getting into the squad there. They've got a lot of Suncorp games, guys. I just want to preface that as well. Madge getting that role there, I think that he's going to build a great game plan that I think that Walters did struggle with the Broncos when there was injuries in the Broncos. I think Madge will still have a nice game plan for players to step up and really, work the Broncos and not get blown off the park like they did last year when they had injuries. I just want to, the reason why I didn't put them in top 4 yet is the still the thing of like, I still want to see it with the Broncos. Like, they've got an incredible roster. They're ready to go. I just think these other 4 sides, after the years that they had and some of the players they have in their lineup at the moment, they probably, for me, have more ability to get top 4. Manly, we'll touch on a little bit soon. They've got a really good draw this year. I touched on it with you. A lot of 4 points games and in perfect spots in the season as well. So got the Broncos 5th. I think they're going to have a great year. I think they're going to resurge from the 11th, 12th range and push up to that top 5.
Yeah, pretty spot on, bro. Everything we've already touched on.
All right, moving over to Manly. I kind of just touched on it before. I think that, obviously DCE getting along in a tooth in a way, but he's still a good halfback. He gets him around the park. Still a great halfback, really. One of the better halfbacks in the competition. Tommy Turbo's got to stay healthy for this to all work out, right? I really do believe, but I still think Lehigh Hopewadi is having a great, season. He had a great season last year where he can really take over that role if anything does go wrong. I think he's going to have a great year there. They've still got strike all across the park with Dolu Kola, Ruben Garrick, Jason Starr stays healthy and that. I think they're all ready to go for the season. The only thing with the Manly Seagulls I worry about is that forward pack. Sometimes they can be very up and down. But when I did my ladder prediction, I probably gave them a little bit more swing. When Manly play at 4 points, it's a different sort of Manly. When they get a lot of 4 points games, they're a tough side to beat. Last year, they had spots of 4 Pines games and all that. This year, they got them all in the right places. They got a nice run home at 4 Pines. I think they're going to be a tough team to stop this year, especially if Tommy is very ready to go after, the year that he had last year.
Yeah, look, it comes down to Trbojevic, as just touched on, bro. Like, their back line, 7-1, that they're going to do their job. It really depends on their forward pack showing up and staying in the grind in games. And if they're in punching distance of winning a game, like they will probably do it as well. DCE is very clutch when it comes to controlling games at the back end and winning those tight ones. So it's really depends on their forward pack just holding them in that game enough for their back line to strike and Cherry Evans to ice the game. It's as simple as that.
100%, bro. 100%. Moving over to my third position, I think we all had the Penrith Panthers in the third. Well, I think we all had the same position from 3 to 1. So I may as well go through it. I got Penrith third. They're the Penrith Panthers. They've lost a couple of key players, of course, but I still think the system's good enough there to really stay healthy. If Nathan Cleary stays healthy, I think they're third positions to the side. They probably could be a top 2 side. Really, they can be up there again. Yeah, I got the Sharkies in second. I think with adding Fanor Blake attacking wise, I think that helps them, a ton there as well. Obviously, it comes down to the halves clicking and having a great year. I think another year with Fitzgibbon's system and stuff. I think there's no excuse for these guys now to not be a top side in the competition. And the Melbourne Storm, we touched on it just as much with you. I think they're just the Melbourne Storm, bro. They just do. They look great this year. I think they're in for a big year. The only thing that worries me, they had a little bit of injuries running to the season, Puppy and stuff and that, but Craig Bellamy always figures out a way to make it work. So
when you got Farlongo and Wishart as backups, bro, like that's covering their whole spine straight away because Wishart will just do a job no matter where. Not to mention, Bronson Garlick and we've touched on the forward pack depth that they've got this year on guys that just put their hand up and do a job. So even injuries don't, in my opinion, won't shake the Storm too much this year to miss the finals.
Yeah, bro, that's pretty much it from top to bottom, guys. As you see here, I got the Melbourne Storm sitting at first, the Sharkies, Penrith, Manly. Rounding out my top 8, we got the Broncos, Bulldogs, Roosters, and just getting a top 8 roll there, we got my Warriors, of course. I want to preface, I am a Warriors fan, guys, if you don't know already. Moving over to my finishing out the bottom side of the 8, we got the Parramatta Eels, the Rabbitohs, the Cowboys, the Dragons, the Knights, the Dolphins, the Titans, the West Tigers, and the Canberra Raiders. So make sure you comment down below your thoughts overall. Again, guys, just understand that we haven't seen a proper proper season game yet. This could all change. Who knows? Coming out this year, the Parramatta Eels could be a top 8 side. The Cowboys top 8 side. This is what we're going off right now of what we know and what we think. So don't be too disheartened when you see the Raiders at Wooden Spoon, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, mid-season review as well. We'll do a side-by-side comparison of our predictions to how the ladder is looking.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the one that I really do think I'm going to get a little bit like pretty far off. I am worried about the Roosters. I really do think the Roosters have the ability to fall out of the 8. I'm also banking on consistency of what they've done in years past. And obviously they had incredible players those years. So it's a wait and see, right?
100%. But they've still got caliber players, Angus Crichton, Teddy. We're forgetting that, Dom Young, Daniel Tupou, Victor Radley. They've still got a pretty stacked side there. I just think that Sam Walker and Smith are the cherry on the cake to win them a lot of games again when they're back together.
Sweet, bro. Sweet. All right. Rounding out our predictions of this year, we're going to go with our Daily M positions of the year. So our Daily M team of the year. We may as well go with this 1-for-1, I reckon, my bro. What do you reckon?
I agree, brother. I agree.
All right. Sweet, sweet. All right. I'll start off with Lockie's side, then we'll go you and then me. So Lockie's fullback of the year, he has Ryan Papenhuyzen as fullback of the year.
I like it.
Who have you got?
I've got Tom Trbojevic.
I'm with you. I've got Tom Trbojevic as well. Why Tommy Turbo to you? Overall, do you think he stays healthy? Do you see him leading the Manly Seagulls?
Yeah, look, we know Tommy's probably one of the best players in the game when he's fit, and I feel like if he gets through a full season, he's probably the best fullback stat for stat on a lot of things. So, and he stays consistent, whereas, other fullbacks like Drinkwater, he's a bit hot and cold. Pappenhausen, he does find an injury just like Trbojevic, don't get me wrong, but I do see the shout for Pappenhausen to get fullback. I got him, Edwards and Turbo is my 3 leading contenders for that fullback position of the year.
I still think Teddy will push it, as in the fact of I think that with the side that they have, he'll probably step up in that area. But I agree. I got Tommy Turbo, exactly the same thing you say. When Tommy Turbo's fit and ready to go, I'll put my balls on the line and say I think he's the best fullback in the league, and
100%.
He's incredible. So that's the way I'm going. But yeah, I do like the Ryan Papenhuyzen shout. The only thing I'm worried about with Ryan Papenhuyzen, if these niggling injuries continue on, I think he's looking to get fit by round 1, but that's the only worry for me with Brian, obviously, overall. And it's the same thing with Tommy. Moving over to the wingers, Lockie has Brian Toto and Xavier Coates. Who do you have, my bro?
Oof, I went Brian Toto and Will Warbrick.
Ooh. So I went Brian Toto and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. Roger's my smoky.
Okay.
Brian Toto, we're all agreeing with?
Yeah, look, Toto's hard to knock off the top. It's simple as that. Stat for stat, what he does in the game, the tries he scores, playing Origin. It's kind of hard to take a wing spot away from Toto. Short of any injury, he'll probably get another winger of the year position.
Yep. Thoughts on Xavier Coates with Lockie?
I see the shout. I just think a lot of Xavier Coates' work doesn't show up on the stat sheet. So, he does a lot of great defensive work. He's probably one of the best defensive centers. But you don't really get to see that and score that when you're looking at awards, especially for wingers. You're also looking at, the try scorers, the tackle breaks, the meter eaters. That's what really judges for the Daily M. But I do see the shout for Xavier Coates. It's the same with Supercoach. You think, fuck yeah, I want Xavier Coates, but it doesn't reflect on the scores. And I don't know. I still just think if Munster gets an injury and stuff, we don't see that left attack as much as we do see that right with Jerome Hughes.
Yeah, 100%. Will Warbrick, really good one there. Obviously very high on the Melbourne Storm this year. Is that kind of where you're looking at it as?
Yeah, and I just think that, Hughes will have another great year as he did, and we've seen that success from Warbrick last year. He was a shout for me for a winger of the year position last year, and I think he'll go close again this year.
And with me, my different one, I got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. This is a bit more of a smoky one. I think it's an outside shout, but I think with the meterage that we're going to see out of him this year, I think he'll be a top 3 meterage winger in the competition. I think automatically he was there at centre. And he's going to get a lot more lion's share of the kick returns off the back end. I think that, if the Warriors do get into that top 8 round, I do believe that attacking wise, we're going to go left side with our shape. I think he can score a lot of tries and be around that range. I think he'd be looking like, he won't be Brian Toto, right? I'm not saying that, and he is getting older, but he has a lot of similarities in his work rate of his back end, and I think he can score some decent tries to get into that discussion.
Yeah, I just need to see the tries first. Even like if he said he's playing left edge or right edge.
Left edge.
Yeah, so Warriors in their good season of 2023 didn't go left much either. It was more so right to Dallin. So try scoring down that left edge is going to be a bit of a hindrance. And then I already see that him getting discarded for the winger position because he'll play a lot of games at center. I dare say with a couple of injuries, he'll get forced to the center for a little bit. And that will just kind of like void him from being in the wing position. But all goes well for Roger. I 100% agree on the meters out of the back end, the tackle break ability, and then if he does get to score a few tries on the back of the back line, if that goes well for the Warriors, 100% I could see that shout. But it's about getting that left edge side going well. For me, once I start seeing that, I can see it. Until then, I see other wingers that have more of a try scoring ability that will trump him a little bit in that voting on what they vote on.
And I can definitely see that for sure. Yeah, this is more of like, I think that I'm very high on Roger moving to the wing. I'm really excited to see how it goes, but it is definitely a see how it goes, right? I think that's for 100%. A lot of people coming this year. Moving over to the centers of the year, Lockie has Stephen Crichton and Zach Lomax. He's still very high on Zach Lomax there. Who have you got in your centers?
Oof, I went with Bronson Sherry and Bradman Best.
Oh, actually, we got one the same there, right? I've got Critter and Bradman Best.
Okay.
So Bronson Sherry.
Look.
Where's your thoughts there?
I love Critter. Don't get me wrong. Would have him on my team in a heartbeat straight away. He deserved center of the year last year. But if you look at it, Bronson Sherry wasn't far behind him on like
stats.
Like if not in front of him on stats for like the meters, the tackle breaks. And this year, I just feel like Birdo is going to have such a better year again. And he's going to be on that left edge calling the shots, and Bronson Sherry will feed off that and score a few more tries. And that was 1 year back into the NRL for Bronson Sherry. The ceiling is through the roof. His potential, and I just think that he'll build on that even more so than he did last year, and we'll see him get a potential center of the year position. I really do see it.
I love the shout. Obviously, we got one similar, Bradman Best. Both very high on him. I thought he had an incredible season last year. I think he builds off the back of that. The only worry for me is if he continues to have hemi niggles and all that sort of stuff. That worries me a little bit. But, talking it like predicting they all stay healthy, I think Bradman Best is good enough to get a center of the year.
I couldn't agree more. We've seen what he does at Origin. And, I'd love for Bradman Best, if this year doesn't go too well for the Knights or any injuries and stuff, to find another club. Like imagine him on like a team like the Storm or, the Sharks, where he's getting fit, he's healthy, he's getting good, better players around him, halves giving him clean ball, not just relying on the fullback to sweep and put him on a clean platter. But we've seen him at Origin just absolutely brain it when everybody rid him off, and he's got the ability, man, to be the center of the year. I really do see that. And then Lockie's other shout in Lomax.
Yeah.
I don't like him as a center. I hope he proves me wrong and continues on the upward trajectory that he built himself last year, but I see him so much better as a winger.
Yeah, I can kind of see where Lockie's coming from. If he has the same mentality that he had in that winger position and moves to the center, probably obviously puts away that flick pass he tries so hard to do when he was at center at times. He can do it and do it to the best ability. Just put it away sometimes. Sometimes there's moments where you do need to do it and you don't. But like if he continues that leading, that kick chase, scoring tries on the back of, really good kicking moments with Mitchell Moses, I can see that shout. But it is definitely a wait and see as well. Obviously moving from wing in one. Changes a lot of things, right? It does. It really does.
100%. And, he's going to be on exposed for defense now as well. And that could play a hindrance on his, polling for when guys think of who was center of the year.
Yeah, 100%. Moving over to 5'8" of the year. Who have you got in this role?
I've switched out 5'8" 4 times. I've got 4 guys that I'm thinking that will take it, but I'm going to go with Tommy Dearden.
Oh, I love the shout. Obviously, a lot of confidence coming off the Pacific Championships and all that. His name's up in lights now. He can definitely build off the back of that, right?
Yeah, and he's the main man for the Cowboys for me this year. Him and Drinkwater. Townsend's gone now, so Dearden has to step up, and I feel like he will.
And I think because of that name there, I think this is why I kind of went this way. Me and Lockie both have Cam Munster. I think that obviously you probably would have had him in your 4 names, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that the only thing worries me, again, injuries come into the season, right? But he's got to be in his bonnet. Obviously, there's a lot of talk around that Origin 6 jersey. If Munster's healthy and ready to go, Dearden's healthy and ready to go, I'm sure he's going to be that competitive that he will want to show that he's still a 6 for Queensland. He's still good enough in that role. And I think that if the Melbourne Storm were going to go really well this year, I think Munster's going to step up and really want to take over, because the grand final that they had last year, I think that he would want to try and change a lot of those and have more of his type of moments. And I think he's going to really run with that this season. So injuries are the only thing for me with him, is kind of like, that's the only real worry, I feel.
Yeah, yeah. And the effects of that injury he had last year, even if he's fit this year, it's still going to be in the back of his mind to not want to run first and overdo it. And he is such a damaging ball runner. That's the best part of his game. I hope that he hasn't lost that, or I hope that Melbourne Storm haven't moved away from the style around Cam Munster to the success that they had last year of Hughes being the main man. And that's the only thing that I can see hindering Cam Munster. But yeah, for sure, it was him, Birdo, and Lockie Galvin were my other shout for potential 5/8 of the year. So, but I can see Cam Munster for sure. He was who I had on here until we started talking about the Cowboys, and that swung me to Tommy Dearden.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that too. I love Tommy Dearden and all that he stands for as well. Moving over to the halfback jersey, I would probably believe we all have the same halfback.
Nathan Cleary?
Yeah, it's Nathan Cleary, bro. And Lockie has Nathan Cleary as well. I think everyone's like expecting him to have an incredible year this year. You know, I think I'll be a broken record saying that, like, coming in with a shoulder injury that he's got fixed up, surgery and all that. Hopefully he stays healthy, no hemi issues, plays a full season. If he plays a full season, he's going to be up there in the Daily M race, and he's going to definitely be, for me, the halfback of the year.
Well, yeah, he only played 10 games last year, and I think Hines played 15 off the top of my head, and he had better stats than Hines on force line dropouts, try assist, all that sort of stuff. If he plays anywhere upwards of 16 games, that's enough for me to say, you know, he is eligible to win halfback of the year, even if guys are playing 22. If he's done enough in those games, which we know that Nathan Cleary will, halfback of the year. Simple as that.
Yeah. Totally agree, bro. Totally agree. I'm right there with you. Moving over to our prop room. Who is our machine? Who is our engine of our Daily M side this year?
I've gone with Mitch Barnett and Paddy Carrigan.
Oh, I love the Mitch Barnett shout. And Paddy obviously stepping up in that area. I really do love that. Lockie went Adam Fanor-Blake and Payne Haas.
Look,
and I've gone the same two as well. I went those two as well, but I love those other two shouts. I really do. Talk about them.
Well, don't get me wrong, Ads and Payne Haas, it's like a broken record with Toto and Crichton. Yeah, they're the guys they're the best in the league at that position. You know, other guys really need to project so far up to even get a shout over them. It's really hard, you know, stat for stat. Mine for me is I really think Barnett will go to another level with captaincy. I hope that he doesn't get sort of jibbed and not put in that discussion like last year where he was playing a bit of back row, a bit of front row. So I really think he'll take that to the next level. And we'll see the best out of Barnett. So I dare say he'll be in that race. Don't get me wrong, Ads, Fisher Harris, and Haas are hard to beat for that.
Yeah.
And then Paddy Carrigan, man, well, I think short of Isaiah Yeo, he was deserving lock of the year the last couple of years. What I've seen on the weekend for him up front, his game hasn't really changed, but now he's got a bit more of a pull to be able to get that position of the year, whereas like Lock was always kind of locked up.
Agreed.
But yeah, for me, I think Paddy Carrigan will have a great year at prop, and we'll see him absolutely brain the stats. He's a lot fitter than most props as well, so he's going to play bigger minutes, which means that the stats are going to go through the roof a lot more. As long as he keeps 10 on his back and doesn't have to go back to 13, prop of the year.
Yeah, and I think with like Madge coming to the club, like it's the reason why I went Payne Haas. I think with Madge at the club, you know, him being a Blues front rower, you know, Madge got the best out of Payne Haas. I think that was the best I've seen Payne Haas in Origin, right? I think that with Paddy Carrigan off the back of that as well, I think Paddy looks incredibly fit this year. You know, Paddy getting even better is a scary sight even in that prop sort of range. So I can see that for sure. And obviously Adam Fanor-Blake, obviously it hurts me to see him move on from our club and all that, but still an incredible attacking prop. And I think with the attacking side of football, a lot of people just watch attacking side. They're really interested in that. And I think he wins over a lot of votes that way. That's why I kind of had him over like the Mitches Barnetts and like, you know, Fisher Harrises and stuff like that. Joseph Tarpanay's in a way, who also is within a shout as well. But with the Sharkies going really well this year, I think they'll probably just edge for me. But I love those shouts to you. I'd love to see Barnett get put in that discussion because, as you said last year, unfortunately, due to playing edge, he wasn't able to be in that discussion, and I think he's deserving of that.
Yeah, and I see just a bit of tide turning a little bit, you know, where guys will want to strive to beat these guys. You know, if they take it for granted at all, the position awards, or they don't really care, I don't know. But for me, I would say a few guys, well, if it was me and the same guys were getting that position, I'd be like, fuck, what have I got to do to be better than that guy, at least for this season, and just really work on it. And I think Mitch Barnett's that guy, especially now with Ads leaving the club. He'll want to be that guy.
Yeah. And with a guy next to him in Fisher Harris, I think he gets the 1-2 punch there is going to be really, really strong for him in that area as well. Moving over to number 9. So I'm interested. I think that we probably have the similar wavelength on this one. Lockie's gone Harry Grant. Who have you got?
Oh, you shouted out first.
I got Blake Brayley.
I've got Blake Brayley as well.
No, I knew we were on the same sort of. I just think the Sharkies, with the year that they have added Fanor Blake come to the club, I think he's going to get a little bit more of a spotlight. And he's been an incredible player for them for the last couple of years. We both love him there in that number 9 jersey. I think he just gets better this year.
I think so too. It opens up his running game. It opens up his try assist game to a front row weapon like Ads. But yeah, just the work he already gets through. I feel like he was snubbed a little bit last year. Look, Harry Grant had a killer year last year. He'll probably have another killer year this year. He'll be hard to knock off. But yeah, Blake Brayley will be the one to do it, if anybody.
Yeah, and Lockie's 100% right too with Harry Grant. I think he'd be definitely up there and fighting for it. I just think that there's someone like Blake Brayley does deserve a little bit of raps. And like, you know, we were talking about him for Origin last year. Unfortunately, unable to get it. He's still got Api Coruscant, Reece Robinsons of the world. But I think he's up there with them. I think he's good enough defensively for a body. Like, he's not the biggest body in the world. He cracks blokes. He's unreal in the middle, plays long minutes. I love him, bro. He's incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
All right. Edge back rollers. This one opened up a lot of names for me. I went Hamole Olakawatu and Eli Katoa. I heard in off-season, apparently Eli Katoa's just braining it. And Olakawatu, as I said before, I'm fairly high on Manly Seagulls' ability, it being top 4. And I think Olakawatu's in for another great year. But there was a lot of names I was really, you know, fighting with. I think Liam Martin's going to be in around that sort of range as well. Lockie went with Olakawatu and Jeremiah Nanai. I love that shout as well. Who have you got?
I went with Liam Martin and Jeremiah Nanai.
There's those names that are just similar. It's so good to see. So Liam Martin, obviously, as I said, I think he's in the range for me. I'd love to see him around there. Obviously, you're a big fan of Liam Martin.
Yeah, I think he's going to have an absolute killer of a year. He's got a new mission, which is protect Cleary at all calls. Cleary's going to see a lot more touches through the roof again for the Panthers, and that's going to lead to Liam Martin being a bit more of a weapon again.
That's a great point.
And Jeremiah Nanai moving over to Dearden, same sort of story as Liam Martin. You know, he's got try-scoring ability as it is. The talent is through the roof. Dearden's captain of the Cowboys, so if Nanai's being lazy in defense, which is where I think the errors are in his game, he's going to get fucking sprayed. And I think you'll just see the best out of him, and it'll create a new beast. But yeah, the names are endless for who you could throw up. Like, we're snubbing Angus Crichton, and that's only because I think the Roosters will drop off a little bit without Keary there. Then you got Presto, you got Kikau,
David Fifita, if everything goes right with the Titans.
Britton Denakora. Olakawatu, I love that shout. But yeah, you could go on for days. Eli Katoa, you know, Sean Blaw's looking like he's in good form already. Where do you stop? You know, like it's endless on the back row talent. This how much a back rower has influence on a game now. Yeah.
It is so important in NRL at the moment, especially I think a lot of game plans revolve around hitting that tram line and trying to get that like 7-4 split, 7-3 split in the field. And that's how they get that real nice open attacking shape. or they can hit their short sides. And I think a lot of teams are really playing off the back of that. And you need a really good line running edge back roller to start off that set. You want to target that half and then play off the back of that and cause the defense to really think about that. So I think it's a real vital position, and it just shows with the amount of talent that's around rugby league at the moment there. I love Nenai as a shout too, as I said before. Super coach wise, I think like he'll improve his base being outside of Dearden. And also just little things of like, I know that him and Murray Taulagi are incredibly close. Them being closer together on the same side. I know defensively they're still a little bit apart, but just little areas like that, I think that helps a lot. I think Murray Taulagi will be chirping a lot to him when he does a lot of things wrong. And inside of him, Tom Dearden will do exactly the same thing. So I think there's going to be a massive year there for Jeremiah Nenai.
I think so too, brother. You've hit nail on the head.
All right. Lock forward. I think we all got the same man now.
Yeah, I can't go past Isaiah Yeo.
I can't
look,
really...
Yeah, I would love to say Cam McInnes because I know the Sharks are going to have a good year and it will reflect on him, but he doesn't do as much in attack as Yo does. Yo does the attack work, the defense work, the setup work. Like he's everywhere. He's 80 minutes. It's got to be Yo.
Yeah, and I was sort of the one before, like pushing. If Paddy Carrigan was in that lock role, I think it was the only one that was pushing Isaiah Yeo to get one of those like daily M locks of the year. And even then, that's like, you know, Isaiah Yeo just being Isaiah Yeo, right? I think there's Isaiah Yeo, then a bit of daylight, and then the rest of the locks in the competition right now, right? So it's hard to go anyone else for me.
Yeah, Cam McInnes, Ruben Cotter, you know, Cam Murray, if he had a full fit season, would probably be the next one to push Isaiah Yeo. Other than that, like Cam McInnes and Cotter, again, their games go unnoticed. They do all the ugly work. They don't get to do much of the attack work that Yeo gets to do, which puts him that little bit in front. Other than that, yeah, Cam Murray would be the only one that would run with Yeo for me in the contentions.
Yeah, agreed there, bro. And Lockie, obviously, he's exactly the same as us, Isaiah Yeo, in that 13. All right, so our team of the year is all done, guys. If you missed any of it, make sure you run it all the way back and check from start to finish. Obviously, we ran through that side fairly well there. Moving over to your most improved player of the season. Who have you got?
Look, I think this one's more of a hope, but it's Matt Burton. I've been harping on about it. Like I've seen it there. He's got the ability. He's really just got to take the team. Like, you know, last year had his kid, probably a little distractions off field, but now it's like time to zone in. You know, the doggies had a great year last year. We need to build on that. We need Birdo for that. And I hope that he takes it on board. If it's not Matt Burton, it's Corey Horsburgh for me. Looking fit, got a starting jersey, wants the Queensland jersey again. I think, those two for me are going to be most improved.
That's a mean shout. I love the Corey Horsburgh shout. I love both of the shouts overall in a way. I went Stefano Tikamanu, the new signing of the Melbourne Storm. I think if Melbourne turns anyone into anyone, I think he's going to turn to a great player. I think that one's a little bit of a layup for me, but I love that Corey Horsburgh shout. That didn't cross my mind, but now that it's crossed my mind, I'm like, I really do enjoy that shout.
Going from not getting picked last year to, you know, now back in the starting without a trial game. Like, it's looking good signs for him to get back to that form for 2023. But I love Stefano's shout.
It's kind of like if you look at like the most improved side of the year, before the Rabbitohs injury, it probably would have been the Rabbitohs for sure. Now it look like probably the Broncos, probably jumping into a top 4 if they do this year. They'll probably be the biggest jumpers. But yeah, I love that shout for sure, bro. Really good eye there. Rookie of the year, who have you got?
Oh, did Lockie ever...
most improved. Ryan Papenhuyzen. He went Ryan Papenhuyzen. Obviously, injury-riddled season. I understand that as well. And getting what he got daily and fullback of the year, so for Lockie. So I see that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Moving over to rookie of the year. Who you got rookie of the year, brother?
I'm going to go with Isaiah Iongi for the Eels.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm with you there. I was trying to think of other shouts that I had on the top of my head. You had Tom Duffy from the Cowboys. If he gets a consistent role in that number 7 jersey, he's got Clifford to worry about. I think if Isaiah Iongi, like Joash Papali'i would be pushing him for that spot, but like I think he's fairly locked in for majority of the season, and it'd be hard to beat him there.
He showed enough in the trials. You know, he's going to get through a lot of good minutes. Obviously he's going to play the 80, but you'll see try assists, the meters. And I couldn't really think too many others that are going to get a starting role and probably a set forget role at this point in the season. You know, that might change halfway through the season when we do a review. But yeah, right now on the hot tips of who's getting a starting jersey and probably looking to keep one, it's got to be him.
And like, you know, the whole like definition of a rookie as well. Like there's other guys that have played amount of footy, but they're still rookies to the game for me. I think a lot of people are thinking of that. Lockie has Casey McLean, and I think he's went down that route. You know, I think he's played a couple of more games, and I don't know if he'll be in discussion there, but like if he was, I love Casey McLean for that shout as well.
Yeah, so. I do as well. That's one I did think of, but I know that he wouldn't be in the actual official running because of the games he played last year. But Owen Paddy might be one for Canberra Raiders. Keep an eye on him.
That's another one. Yeah. And I would have said Ali Leotar, but he's played some more games in the NRL as well. So that was another one for us at the New Zealand Warriors. But rookie of the year done and dusted. Who is your coach of the year?
Craig Fitzgibbon.
Oh, I like that shout. I love that.
Yeah.
Me and Lockie have got Craig Bellamy, but Craig Fitzgibbon, bro, obviously a big season for the Sharkies that you're building off that.
Yeah, well, and it just kind of like they kind of do look at like who's
Voters
improved.
Fatigue?
Yeah,
yeah, that too. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's not just if you finish top, you're the top coach. You know, like Madge might even get it because he might turn the Broncos around to a top 4. You know, like that's kind of what they look at as well as the story. But yeah, for me, it's Fitzgibbon. I see the Sharks finishing top 2, and that'd be enough to solidate him getting it over Bellamy, even though Bellamy will probably finish Mitre Premiers, you know, just because he did that last year and it's just a repeat. Whereas like adding something and improving something, which is not how it should be. To me, it should be if your team finishes first, you're coach of the year. Simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. There's other little things they do take into account, whether you agree with it or not, and you definitely focus on that area. Like Madge is a great shout for that because, you know, dragging a side outside the bottom, outside the 8 into maybe a top 4 discussion, that's a massive jump. So he's definitely hot on the heels there. I got Craig Bellamy, as we said before, you know, as you touched on, probably the best coach in the competition other than Wayne Bennett. So yeah,
even better than Wayne Bennett, in my opinion.
Yeah. Moving over to what do we got here? Captain of the year.
Yeah, I went with Barnett.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Shout out, Mitch Barnett.
I think he's got a lot to offer. We've seen the leadership last year, drove him into a New South Wales jersey, drove him into Australia jersey, and he just builds on it for me. Isaiah Yeo will be hard to beat as well, as always, and Critter and the influence Critter has. But yeah, I'm just trying to spice it up a little bit, and I think Mitch Barnett does the job. Yeah,
I love that, bro. I love that. I went with Harry Grant. Obviously the captain of the Melbourne Storm, one of the captains group. I think that he's in for a massive year there. Lockie went with DC. Obviously, I'm not sure where he had Manly on the ladder, but
6, I think it was.
Yeah, so he's pretty high on Manly as well. What you had him in top 8 as well, didn't you?
I think I had Manly 7th.
Yep. So like, yeah, DC leading that pack around, and you know, obviously playing still great footy. So I can definitely see that.
I could see that too, for sure. I didn't even think of DC.
Yeah, neither. So very good shout there from Lockie. We'll leave player of the year till last because I think that's a big one. Yep. Top point scorer of the year.
Jermaine Osako.
Oh, yep. I like that. I didn't end up getting top point scorer off Lockie. He didn't end up giving it to us. I do apologize.
If he's still in the chat, throw it out, Log.
Yeah, Lockie, if you're still in the chat, chuck your point scorer of the year there. I went with Ruben Garrick. As said, if Manly score a lot of points, I think Ruben Garrick converts a lot of that and goes with that sort of way.
Yeah, I could see that for sure because, you know, Manly's going to put a few cricket scores on. I only went with Osako because I feel like he'll get, around the 18 mark tries as well as conversions as well. So
he's always on there.
Yeah, he double racks up the points there. So
100%, bro, 100%. Top try scorer of the year. This one's a tough one for me.
I went with Will Warbrick. And that's what also goes, hand in hand with him being winger of the year for me.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like that shout. I went AKP. I still think the Titans will be a great attacking side, even with the fullback look and all that. I think they're going to throw a lot of footy. I think there's going to be ability there where he's going to be in support, nick a lot of tries like he did last year. You know, you don't have to be a top 8 side or a great side to win the try scorer of the year. Kind of shows how like attack is great and all that, but defense wins championships, and that's kind of how that works.
Exactly.
I went AKP there, and I struggled to pick someone else. I think we discussed it at work and all that. It was tough to really think of anyone else that's going to step up consistently to get that top try scorer.
Yeah, then one team, you know, like that goes just one way, like AJ for the Rabbits and shit like that. Like it's the good sides like Melbourne and the Panthers. They're very versatile in which edge they attack. So it's not just a one-man show sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly right, bro. Exactly right. We'll go State of Origin result before we go to Dalian Player of the Year. So what have you got State of Origin wise this year? No, he didn't have a try scorer either. Unfortunately.
All right, well, hopefully he's still in the chat there somewhere. Origin for me, I've got New South Wales 2-1.
2-1? Obviously, New South Wales fan, I went Maroons 2-1.
Yeah. Look, it's kind of hard to predict this, but like
it is.
Just with the ability in the pool that New South Wales have to choose from, to me, they shouldn't lose this year. You know, Queensland still aren't fully set on what they're doing with their halves after DCE, or if they're running another year with DCE. And that just already plays on my mind straight away to think that it's New South Wales to lose the series again.
Yeah, I'm just going off of the hungriness factor. Billy Slater getting beat now, and it kind of got egg on his face with the whole Madge chat and how that all went down last year. I think that he'll be, as a player, he's always been a very competitive player, and he always tries to fix up on his game. I'm sure he's going to try and do that with the Maroons. That could go two different ways. He could overwork, kind of like Freddie probably did more so towards the end of his tenure, or that could go really well. And hopefully, no big injuries. We can come into the season with Tino, with Tom Gilbert, with a lot of these players that we missed out on last year in a way. And you guys will be very similar. Hopefully you come in with Nathan Cleary and, obviously Tommy Turbo, and all these guys are really, really fit, and you get the best jerseys out there. But obviously, yeah, it's never too early. Never too early to talk Origin, but it's great to see that. I love that one from you.
And other things, lastly, have you got who your grand final predictions are? Like the two teams you're predicting to be in it is one that I didn't chat to about who I thought we would add in there.
Yeah, add in there. If you got your two, I'll think of mine on the top of my head.
Yep. And then just Daly M and obviously who we've got for the premiership.
Yep. All right. Who have you got for the grand finalist?
Yeah, I've got Sharks versus Storm grand final.
So you think the Sharks finish the not the hoodoo, but they get all the way through now the grand final and go up against Melbourne?
Yes, I do.
It's nearly 10 years since that grand final, right? I think it was 2016 they did. No, was that 2018? They did that grand final.
I think it was 2018 off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe I was too far off there. It would have been cool if it was like 10-year anniversary, but no, it wasn't.
No, not that. Yeah, actually, I think you're right. I think it is 2016.
Still not 10-year anniversary, but close to it. Sharks versus Melbourne. I'll just quickly look at it.
Well, it's 2015 or 2016?
2016. It was 2016. I thought I hit it around the mark.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna go Melbourne versus the Penrith Panthers.
Yeah,
I'm still gonna go Penrith. I think it's gonna repeat, and I think this will be the year that Melbourne rewrite the wrong of last year.
So Melbourne are premiership winners for you?
Melbourne are premiership winners for me, bro. Who have you got?
Yeah, same, brother. I think Melbourne take it out next year or this year.
Yeah. Is there any smoky for that grand final that you obviously got the Sharkies, but is there anyone else in mind? Penrith is probably around that. Do you think the Broncos have the ability?
But yeah, Penrith Broncos. So that top four is still, it's up for grabs for the premiership for me, but it's Melbourne, Sharks, Panthers, Broncos. I'd love to say us, but I feel like we get knocked out either second week of finals or third week of finals trying to get into that grand final.
Yeah. Yep. The Broncos are the one that I'm just like looking at as like, I don't know if the grand finals are a step too far for Maginy's first year. I think they'll build really well and then go to the next one. But
I don't after the year that they had in 2023. That's the only thing that's holding me on to them.
Yeah. But I love that shout. And lastly, Dalian Player of the Year. I think we could have a similar name here. If I'm reading it right, who have you got for Dalian Player of the Year?
I couldn't split them.
Oh, so there's a couple here.
There's two, and I couldn't split them. So,
Do you want me to guess these two names?
yeah, I feel like you'd guess them pretty easily.
Okay, so one's got to be Nathan Cleary for me,
Yep,
and the other one's Tommy Trbojevic.
it is.
Yeah. I love that.
I am leaning towards Turbo for the sole factor that he won't have as many points stolen from him in the system of 6-point voting, which I fucking hate.
Yeah, I know.
Whereas like Nathan Cleary will lose some points to Isaiah Yeo and Dylan Edwards a fair bit, whereas Tom Trbojevic won't lose too many points to any other counteracts, in my opinion.
I always do this to myself, but just thinking while you're talking, like I've gone Nathan Cleary as my pick to win Daily M of the Year, but Turbo is such a good shout in the fact of like, when I think of the Blues this year and the side that you're going to pick, I think Nathan Cleary is more of a lock in that Blues side in a way. I think Mitchell Moses will probably find his way there as well than Tommy Turbo. I think Tommy Turbo will have an incredible year in that, but when I'm looking at that side, you had Brandon Best and all that last year. Zach Lomax, whether he can get back in there, there's probably a spot there for Tommy Turbo. But if he misses out on Origin, he could pick up a lot of points in that Origin period as well.
100%, you're right.
Falls out, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're going to be tossing up Brady Best, Latrell, Jesse Ramian, these three guys already for that other center position and pairing them up with Critter. Lomax, if you're going to play him at center in Origin as well, I don't think they should, but they might look at how he's playing at center and go, yep, you know what, you play center for Origin as well. But yeah, you got those guys that Turbo's got to get a nod over, and he would any day of the week, but he might rule himself out for Origin and say, nah, pick one of those guys. So that's a factor for sure that he'll pick up points during the Origin period when Nathan Cleary is playing Origin.
Yeah, so that's really what thought in my head. I'm still going to go Nathan Cleary as an factor. I think he's going to, again, this is a year that just feels like Nathan, he's going to get more control of that side. He's probably going to pick up a lot more points than what he has in years past with Jerome Luai and all that being there, Fisher Harris, stuff like that. He's still got Isaiah Yeo to contend with. That does pick up some points every so often as well. Brian Toto as well, if he has a blinder that he does. But yeah, Tommy Turbo is going to be fresh on his heels, and I can definitely see that being the other guy to pinch him as well.
Yeah, when Turbo plays well, like he's just going to rack up 6 points. Whereas, like, if you've got a forward watching the Panthers game and the game's a little bit close, if they're the voter, they're voting for Isaiah Yeo. You know what I mean? And that's going to hinder Cleary just that little bit to the point where I think Turbo can pip him on points.
Yeah.
If it was by just 3 points, like the old way, I would say Cleary outright. But because it's 6 points, I see the shininess of Turbo in Manly wins.
Yeah. And Manly, if when I predicted them, I got them in top 4. If they get to that sort of realm, I'm sure that Tommy's in for a massive season. It's honestly those two. They're incredible players. If they stay healthy, they're the two of the best players in the competition, and they'll be fighting there, as they always 100%. Do, right?
And then you'll still see the other guys come through, but like if we're just picking one person, like I can't split those two. I've got to go Turbo, but yeah, it's those two.
Teddy will be sniffing. Scotty's Drinkwaters always seems to be there. Nico Hines always seems to be there.
Yeah, Hughes
is always there. Yep. So there's other guys. DCE does pick up a lot of points over the period as well. So he's got the ability, but I totally agree with you, bro. Those are the two names I'm looking at. I've gone Nathan. But yeah, I love that. Michael Williams, good to see you in the chat, my bro. Happy birthday to you, my man, as we said before. So guys in the chat, make sure you say happy birthday to Michael Williams in the chat as well. That's pretty much us, close to done and dusted. Unfortunately, it looks like Lockie's not in the chat anymore to give us the other predictions and that. But yeah, let me know, Lockie, if you do see this. Chuck me your predictions. I'd love to see it. One question I want to lead out there with, bro, because we have done a massive show tonight and all that, and we do need our sleep at times. GT, really good question that he's put up here. If you have a structured attack, do you think it would make your team work better as a collective and translate over to a structured defensive line?
Not necessarily. You got guys that are attacking threats like AFB and Jeremiah Neno, and they lack a little bit in defense. And it's just out of just attitude and effort. You can structure that as much as you want. In attack, some guys just love to attack more than they do defend, and that's completely fine, and you're going to have that. But good structured attack doesn't mean you have good structured defense. As simple as that. Cowboys are a prime example of that. Their attack last year was on fire to the point where they could score 30, 40 points on teams, but they'll still lose by 4 points because they were getting 46 scored on them. Like, that's just goes show that it doesn't colorate that way. The Rabbits are another side that score a lot of points, but they also leak a lot of points. So yeah, structure-wise, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And that's because, you got to add your fullback into your attack line and your attack structure, and that might be your best player. So you can score a lot of points, but then you're taking them out and putting them at the back, and defense-wise, you just go to shit.
I think it depends on the structure, right? As you said, you brought up a lot of great points. The Cowboys, they've got an incredible structure to their attack. A team that I love to watch their attacking football is the Sharks. Pre-2024 Sharks, because they were top 4 defensive side 2024. They struggled defensively, but they're attacking the way they used to set up all their shape. Nico Hines used to play that short side when he needed to, but the structure, as in the fact of, we touched on before with edge back rollers, they played through Britton Nakota and Teague Wilton to set up their shape, and they were so structured and rigid in that area. They knew the points where they needed to get to, and I think that it didn't bode well defensively in that area as well, because I felt like when it came to the defensive end, due to the amount of work rate that Teague Wilton and all that got into, one of the most important parts of defenses is your forward pack, right? But your edge back rower is really important because he's your protector for your halfback, and he dictates a lot of what happens with that inside pressure and, shutting down the half in that area. If he's doing a lot of attacking work out of his back end, that sort of stuff, he's not going to do a lot of the work defensively at times. But the plus to this area, and I don't know whether it's more of a variable or not, is the Penrith Panthers. And I think they've gone a little bit further away from structured attack, but it's still got their same, system that they continue to play, where they continue to turn players back under. And the reason why that helps their defensive side is more of the fact of they really loosen up the middle of the opposition side. So that opposition side struggles to get into really good field position because their forward pack really struggles to continue to roll forward, to get into really good field position to attack on their line, if that makes sense. So when it comes down the opposite end, it does help in that area. It fatigues the side. So there's ways it does, there's ways it doesn't. I don't think you can really solely nail down that a structured attack helps, your defensive side. But a structured attack, what it does, it helps consistency in a way. There's sides like the Titans that I don't want to keep bashing the Titans. I love the Titans, but their attack is so off the cuff. They play like backyard footy. They really do. Off the cuff sort of thing. They've got players like Jaden Campbell, AJ Brimson. But when you got a side that attacks like that, usually the side plays very hot and cold. Yeah. And when you got a side that gets to your corners, you kick to your corners, you really play that real structured type of attack, you're going to have more consistency over the year. And it really depends on the talent you have in your side, whether you play good football that way or not. The Raiders, they probably don't have the incredible talent as other sides, but they play real consistent football. Exactly. The Penrith Panthers are similar in that. So there's honestly positives and negatives to either way, right?
That's pretty bang on, brother. You summed that up perfectly there with the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah, it's all about, honestly, it comes down to consistency and all that sort of stuff. But is there anything else you want to touch on, bro, before you go? I thought that was a great question, GCGG. But if you got any thoughts in your head?
Nah, I'm good, bro.
I think we're good, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the NRL predictions that we have for 2025. Hold us to it. Honestly, get in the comment section. Give us your thoughts as well. We love everyone commenting their thoughts in the comment section after the video. If you guys missed out, if you're just tuning in now, make sure you rewatch the stream. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Me and Brody will be back tomorrow night with our Supercoach side. We will review a couple more Supercoach sides before the year. We won't get to every single one of them. I've got a ton of them to get through, so it would be a massive show if we do, but we're going to give you our sides, all that. So get excited, guys. Have a good sleep. Have a good night. Thank you, Brody, as always.
No worries. Catch us tomorrow.
Take it easy, guys. Peace out.